Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm gonna give you a really quick apartment tour as part of this live stream to start it off, and then we will jump into the live stream Q&A. So, let me grab this here without messing it up. I'm already messing this live stream up here. All right, so let me turn the camera around here. Okay, so we've got the living room here. I'll back up. It's got a big couch. Like normally you get these really crappy couches in this part of Asia in the Airbnbs, but this one has a big, nice, comfy couch. And obviously the star of the show is this view. There's a big lake over there. It doesn't look as big on the video, but it's actually pretty big. Oh, hold on. Let me turn my YouTube off. I have my YouTube pulled up so I can read the comments. But let me back up here. So you'll see my little setup there. That's where I'm going to be doing the live stream. I've got my suitcase there to put the camera up a little higher. But all right, so you saw the living room. Now there's this little dining room area. Oh, let me show you this. So you don't get ceiling fans a lot in Asia either. You just have like fans that you plug into the wall. So it's kind of cool to have a ceiling fan, and it has central air. I've never seen that in this part of Asia either. So go in here, you got the table here, then you got a little like breakfast nook / coffee nook, which is kind of cool, and a big kitchen for Asia, like galley type kitchen, which is going to go to waste on me. And as you see here, a big refrigerator for Asia. And then here we've got the bathroom. We've got the, what do they call those? Waterfall shower heads, which is great. And let's go into the bedroom here. Let me back up. So the bedroom's pretty big here. I actually got my Airbnb changed because the one I was supposed to be in actually had, this one has 2 levels of floor to ceiling windows. It had 3 levels. So it was much higher, much bigger walls, but the owner of the unit took the unit back from the company I was renting from. It's Airbnb, but it was a company that is doing Airbnb. You'll see the great view here of the city and the little park with the lake right here. It's a great park to walk around. But you'll see here, we've got the bed. The pillows are great. My last 2 Airbnbs have had really great pillows, which is pretty awesome. And then you got this big closet over here. There's me, big floor to ceiling windows. But yeah, so this Airbnb was changed on me. And I was originally in a studio, which if you've watched my channel for a while, you know I do not mind studio Airbnbs. I actually prefer them. I like everything in one room. It's a weird thing that I like. I don't know why, but I just do. Which makes me easy and makes me able to get more affordable Airbnbs. But yeah, they called me and said, hey, you know, the owner at the last minute is taking this unit back. We're sorry. We've got some alternate units for you. And so I ended up in this one, which is a 1-bedroom, but still great views, but not as great of view with the floor to ceiling windows. Because like I said, these are 2-panel and it was 3 panels. So it was even higher and a higher wall. It was more lofty looking. So I was super excited about those views. So ended up having to be in a different Airbnb, which is fine. So the people always want to know what it costs. So in this building, the Airbnbs are going to run you anywhere from $850 to $1,500 if you get like a 2-bedroom a month. And that includes everything. The Wi-Fi is actually super fast in here. It's like 400 up, 400 down. One of the fastest Wi-Fis I've ever seen in Asia. The building is really cool. There is it's like multiple lobbies. In my lobby, there is a big convenience store, like really big. Like you can go down there and get anything you want, like potato chips, water, you know, laundry soap, whatever you need. It's like a little grocery store. But also in this building is a grocery store called like Fresh, and it's kind of like a Whole Foods. There's a bunch of like eatery places in there, but also a big grocery store. So a huge grocery store in this building. There's multiple restaurants. There's Western, Malaysian, other places, Japanese. There's a Burger King in the building. So it's really cool that all this stuff is in this building. And then you have that park with the lake right there for my morning walks, which is awesome. And so it's super convenient. Everything is at your fingertips. And I'll probably do a video just featuring this building, which is called M City. And it just has all kinds of restaurants and stores, and everything's at your fingertips. And that's what I love. I love to live in a place where everything is at my fingertips. So if you, on Airbnb, that's what it's gonna cost you. It's gonna cost you like $900 to $1,050 a month. But if you rented this place like this, there's tons of them in these 3 buildings, there's thousands of units, it'd be around $400 to $500 US a month. That's what it would cost you. And then probably another 50 to 100 for AC, depending on how much aircon you used for electricity. That's your big aircon cost here. Or your big electricity cost is your AC. And then internet, probably 30 bucks. So you're talking $400 to $500 a month rent if you signed a long-term lease, and then another about $120 of bills. So all in, you're talking between $500 and $650. So pretty affordable to live here, and it's in a great location. Almost all the condos have these beautiful views, so you can find those. There's condos that face the other way, which is the mountain and riverside, and those are nice too, but they're even cheaper. So if you didn't want the lake view and the city view, you could get those ones. So very, very affordable. And yeah, so I'm gonna jump into the chat. Now, if you asked a question before, I'm not gonna scroll back because it would mess everything up. So ask it again. I've got my trusty iPad here. If you can put a bunch of question marks before it or type the word question before your question, it makes it really easy for me to find the questions. And so if you have any questions about this Airbnb, travel Kuala Lumpur, van life, cruising, anything travel related, throw them out there. But I'm super excited about being in this new spot. I just got here yesterday, just getting settled in. Still haven't figured out how to make the hot water work. It's always an adventure when you're staying in Airbnbs, especially in Asia. Every place has a different way that you make the hot water work. So I got to figure that out today, or maybe it's broke and I need to call somebody. But we'll see. It's probably not broke. It's probably just user error. All right. The Miller said, what city am I in? I am in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Kathy. I love Kuala Lumpur. When people ask me, like, hey, I'm new to travel, where should I go that's exotic but kind of easy to get around and I won't have so much culture shock? I always tell people Malta in Europe, because everyone speaks English, but it's an island that has a mix of European and Muslim influence, like Middle Eastern influence. And it's just a really cool place, and everyone speaks good English. So you don't need to know another language to go there. I mean, obviously you can go to Ireland or England or Scotland and you'll get around well. But I mean, even in Scotland, I don't really understand what they're saying half the time. But I always say Malta, but over in Asia, I always say Malaysia, because everyone in Malaysia speaks English. It used to be a British colony, and so English is the first language here. Everybody speaks English. They're heavily influenced by American culture too. Like, their English isn't with a British accent, it's with a US accent. And I asked a Malaysian one time, like, why is that? And they said, because we just watch, we watch Friends. We watch Friends all the time, so we all talk like Rachel and Joey. So yeah, so even the accent is a US accent. So it's interesting, it's an easy place to travel. Now I will say, if you are a partier, Malaysia's probably not your spot. While you can find pubs and bars and things like that, the nightlife isn't what it is in other places in Asia, like Vietnam or Thailand. It doesn't have the type of nightlife that those places have, because it's a more conservative country. It's a Muslim country, although very accepting. Like you can do whatever you want here, obviously within reason. It has a huge Indian population, like 10 to 15% of the country, and a huge Chinese population, like 10 to 15% of the country. So you have a fusion of like Malay culture, Chinese culture, Indian culture, which means you have amazing food. To me, it's one of the top food places in the world. It just has amazing food. I mean, Penang curry is named after Penang, Malaysia, although some people will argue with that and say it's not. But yeah, it's just, it's a place. Joe says, not a partier, getting close to my bedtime here in Florida. Yeah, I mean, I get up early. You know, I was up this morning at like 4 o'clock, and I go to bed early, usually between 9 and 10. I know that sounds awful, but that's just my life. Is that haze or air pollution? No, it's not. It's just the background because, you know, like it's also rainy season, by the way. Here, I'll get closer so you can kind of see. So you can see it's not as, when I'm right up here on the window, it's not as hazy. It's morning, so there is a little bit of haze, but it's also rainy season, so there's a lot of precipitation and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a little bit of haze out there, but not like you see on this camera, and that just has to do with like the way cameras work with blurring out the background and all that kind of stuff. So I just saw that plant. I'm like, is that a real plant? Okay, good, it's not. My last Airbnb had like 5 real plants, which was cool. And you know, they ask you to water them, which is fine. It was cool having real plants and watering them, but I'm always afraid I'm gonna kill them because I'm not really good at taking care of anything other than myself. All right. Does the condo have a gym? Yeah, this is a new condo build for the most part. It has all of the amenities that you would expect in Asia. It has an infinity pool. Actually, every level has its own little park area on that level as well. Like outside my door, a couple, like just a little bit down is a little outdoor area. Every level has that on here. And then like somewhere around the 30-something floor, there is a pool. There is an infinity pool with beautiful views, amazing. There is a gym, and like I said, like a bazillion stores in the building. Like you don't even have to leave the building to go grocery shopping. Like I don't have to leave my building to go to Burger King. There's 2 entrances to Burger King in the Burger King out here. One from the street where someone who was pulling up and going to Burger King would go to, and then one from my building into the back of Burger King. So if Burger King's your thing. They may have covered in previous videos. Do you use a VPN for booking more travel banking? Have you heard of Surfshark? So yeah, I use a VPN. I use, which one? I use NordVPN. I need to put a link down to that in my notes. But yeah, I use NordVPN. They're all good. Shark, Express. I used to have ExpressVPN. I think I got Nord because there was some kind of deal when I got them. So I got NordVPN, and it works great. For those that don't know, a VPN just kind of masks your IP address and makes it difficult for people to steal your information. Also, another thing it's great for is like if you have like HBO Max, or you can't really use it overseas, but if you do your VPN in the US, then you can use your HBO Max. Another great thing about a VPN, even if you're in the United States, is if you have Netflix and you do your VPN set to like Great Britain or France or somewhere like that, you'll get their Netflix, which has a lot of stuff that our Netflix doesn't have, like Friends, Big Bang Theory, shows like those that are not on Netflix anymore in the United States because, you know, companies bought the rights to them. So it's pretty, it makes your Netflix even better if you have a VPN. And it makes you not have to have maybe some of the other services where you have shows that you might like. Better neurodivergent travel, I'm going to call you BNT. BNT says Malaysia is awesome. A good Saturday night in Malaysia is dinner and one of those chair massages. Yeah, Malaysia's great. Home on the Hitch is in the house. What's going on? Any chances of van life again in the future? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I talk about this almost every live stream. I'm looking at getting a Honda Element at some point, working with Johnny's Journey and building out a micro camper. I'd really like to have a micro camper so I could just leave it at my mother's house and it doesn't take up too much room. Plus she could use it because it's all-wheel drive. She could use it in the winter. Missouri winters are notorious for a lot of ice and snow. So she would be able to use it when I'm not there just for running errands, which would be great. Do you have a balcony in this apartment? So there is a little balcony, but it's not like anything special. It's like really tiny. Actually, the air conditioning unit is there, and you can't even really go out on it. They do have better balcony units here, but mine doesn't have a great one. It's just enough to put your clothes out on to dry after you wash them. If you don't know, here in Asia, you'll almost never find a dryer in an apartment building. You will find, you'll have a washer, but you dry your stuff outside. So it's kind of a little drying area. You can kind of see the door right there. Any goals you have while you're there? What will be a usual day? Asked Kathy. No goals that I can really I mean, other than my I always do, I'm a big goal setting person, and every year I do goal setting. Like this year I want to do this fitness wise. Like if you guys have been following me for a while, you know I wanted to lose 35 pounds on my 100 and something day cruise on Ruby Princess, and I did. I lost those 35 pounds. I've been keeping them off, which is great. I've been working on my planks. I'm trying to get myself up to at least a 5-minute plank, which doesn't sound like much, but if you've ever done planks before, holding a plank for 5 minutes is a lot of work. I always do, ever since I was in the military, I always do 100 push-ups every morning and 100 sit-ups. That's just part of my life. I have financial goals all the time, like how much am I gonna save per month this year and invest it. So I always have that goal that I'm pushing towards. I used to make YouTube goals, like I want to get to this many subscribers, but I've been slacking on YouTube if you haven't noticed. But yeah, so I'm trying to think if I have any specific goals for this place. I haven't really one of them was to do a live stream at least once a week. At a minimum, that's what I'm gonna do. And then put out other videos as I make them, but at least a minimum of 1 live stream a week. And so far I've been doing that, 1 live stream a week. I've made them subject focused to start off with. You know, like a couple weeks ago I did how to find good Airbnbs. I did that at the beginning of the video, and then we jumped into live stream. This one I just did an apartment tour. I think, what did I do last week? I think I did I can't remember, but I have a topic. Oh yeah, how to save money while traveling full time, something like that, like tips to saving money. But yeah, and you asked what is a usual day. I'm pretty boring. I say this all the time. I get up early. I usually go for a walk to get 10 to 20,000 steps to start off my day, at least 10,000. Sometimes I push it closer to 20,000, and then I'll have coffee. I'll do some YouTube stuff. I'll watch some Netflix. If it's a stock market day, like not a holiday like today, then I'll read a bunch of articles about the stocks I own, stocks I want to own. I'm pretty boring, you know. I'll play a video game here and there. I'm kind of a dork. So, and then I just enjoy good food. Sometimes I'll meet up with people. Like I met up with Grounded Life Finances, Grounded Life Travel when I was in Thailand. I do stuff like that. And yeah, so when people look at my life from the outside, they're like, oh, you have such an exciting life. And I do, I travel, I get to experience new cultures and food all the time and enjoy these amazing apartments with amazing views. But I'm pretty boring from a day-to-day perspective. I'm I'm a homebody for the most part. I'm very much an introvert. So I just find things to keep myself busy that I'm interested in. Right now I've never like let my life be guided by like what I'm supposed to be doing, what I should be doing. That doesn't make sense for you to do, stuff like that. I've never let my life be guided by that. And one of the things I've always wanted to do, and people are going to think this is weird, is I've wanted to drive a semi-truck do the over-the-road trucker thing, just live in my cab and just, deliver stuff all over the United States. I really like figuring out like the best way to do stuff, and I think I'd really enjoy that. Probably not for my whole life, but like to do for a year. So I've been binge watching all these YouTuber truckers, and it's always something I've had in the back of my mind that I want to do. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but right now I'm on this kick of watching all these YouTube truckers and like which trucking companies are the best for new drivers and how to get your CDL and all that kind of stuff. I know people are like, what? You have a law degree, go work at a law firm, you can make a lot more money. But it's always something I've wanted to do. So it's something I'm researching right now. Hey, Robert McInasia, what's going on, man? You said you're in Missouri. What part of Missouri are you in? Joe says he's putting out a video soon. Will everyone subscribe to Joe, the computer guy? Is it computer related? And are you a Mac or a PC guy? Most people who say they're computer people will be PC people. Wellspring just joined. Sorry if you already answered this. Are you renting or did you buy in KL? I'm renting. This is an Airbnb for a month, but I have some friends that live in this building, so I know what they cost, plus I did my research. And you can rent a place in here for anywhere between $400 and $700. I think they might have 3 bedrooms in here for more. And they all have these amazing views. I'm kind of covering them of this park with a lake over here and the city in the background. So yeah. Is there a good spa culture in Malaysia? So it's not at the level of like Bali and Thailand, but there definitely is. I mean, I would say Malaysia now is actually cheaper than Thailand. I haven't been to Bali since 2019 or 2020, so I'm not sure about Bali, but Malaysia is definitely cheaper than Thailand right now, in my opinion. And I'm sure you can find great spas around here for very affordable prices. Yeah, if you don't mind smashing that like button, I'd appreciate it. Hello from a fellow St. Louisan in Edwardsville, Illinois. Love your videos and advice. We'll be returning soon and traveling the world full-time next year. That's awesome, John Wayne. That's amazing. That's cool. Yeah, born and raised in St. Louis, for those who don't know. Left in 1994, joined the U.S. military, the Navy. Did a little bit over 20 years in the Navy. Retired. Went to law school, became a lawyer. Got tired of that gig, started traveling full-time in 2019. Been traveling ever since. Living out of a backpack or an RV, depending on how I was traveling. Where is the link at 30 and a Wake Up? Am I missing it in the write-up? What link are you talking about? If you're talking about to NordVPN, I don't have it on there. I'll throw it on there later. I did fix my links to the Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card, the Chase bank account, all that kind of stuff for those people who were interested. I know those links were messed up. So, do they have good coffee there? Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but Malaysia is also pretty famous for their coffee. They call it Kopi C here. There's a bunch of different flavors, a bunch of different ways to get it, and Malaysians take their coffee seriously. In Asia, I'd put Vietnam #1, and then probably Malaysia for coffee. So Vietnam #1, I mean, you can't beat Vietnam for coffee in Asia. Like, they take their coffee super seriously. It's like Colombia there, like super seriously. But I'd say Malaysia's #2. Is it not windy? So it's actually not that windy here. Someone asked if your clothes will blow off. I mean, it's kind of an enclosed little area. So, I mean, I guess maybe it could happen if it got really stormy and windy, but it doesn't seem like it, you know, so. Jerry says, I'd like to visit, but since I trade in the US stock market, it would be very rough. Yeah, I'm not a trader. I stay up, I usually stay, I always say I go to bed at 9 or 10, but that's not really true. Right now, the stock market is opening at 9:30 Malaysia time. So I usually actually stay up until market open, about a half an hour. I like the crazy financial porn, CNBC. So I'll watch CNBC until around 9:30. I usually fall asleep with it on. And if I'm going to buy anything, I usually wait about a half an hour because you usually get a bunch of money in or a bunch of money out in the first half hour. So it's not a good time to buy or sell. And then I'll put my orders in, my limit orders for whatever I want. And sometimes I'll wake up throughout the night just to check the market when I'm in Asia. So yeah, and then I'll get up. I usually get up between 4 and 5, so then I'm able to catch, you know, like Fast Money and Jim Cramer. I know a lot of people don't like Jim Cramer, but I've been watching him for a long time. Back when it was Cramer and Kudlow, a long time ago. Him and Larry Kudlow had a show. That was a long time ago. And yeah, so. But yeah, it would be rough if you were a trader for sure, unless you could switch your sleeping times, like sleep during the day and stay up all night. Trey says you're boring, sounds like ideal for me. Yeah, I mean, a lot of, you know, everything's relative. Like, I don't think my life is boring, but I think if someone like just came out and hung out with me all day, they would be like, man, you're boring. Robert says, I have a valid Missouri CDL. Very cool, yeah. I'm thinking about coming back there and doing it. There's a place in Sikeston, Missouri that has, which if you've never been to Sikeston, Missouri, they have this place called Lambert's. And it's famous for its throwed rolls, like they throw rolls at you across. And they come around, like you order your main dish and they come around with all these side dishes in these big buckets, like fried okra, mashed potatoes, corn, coleslaw, anything you could think of at a country buffet type of place. And it's called Lambert's, and it's famous. It's got license plates all over the place. They have peanuts at every table, and you just throw the shells on the ground. Just a really cool place. I love it. Every time me and my mother pass through there to go visit my grandfather, he lives in Tennessee, we stop and eat there on the way there and on the way back. I love it. I have fond memories of it. It's one of my favorite places in the world. But they have a truck driving school there that's really simple, like really quick, really simple. And yeah, so I'm thinking about going there and just staying in Sikeston, Missouri for a couple weeks, and I can eat Lambert's every single day, which would make me super happy. For June and September in Southeast Asia. What's the best time for deals? So I never pay attention to the best time to go to places. I just don't. I probably should. Rainy seasons don't bother me. Cold seasons don't bother me. I never pay attention until I need to look up the weather to figure out what I'm going to carry in my suitcase. But so I'm a bad person to ask. There's probably better people in this chat to ask what's a good time to go. But when you're in the places during the off-peak times, you'll get much better deals on Airbnbs, especially if you book them like just a few weeks before you go. Although then your selection might be low, but you usually get a better deal because people are lowering the monthly rates. But yeah, I'm a bad person to ask. Like, I've been looking at what I'm going to do next year, and I think I'm going to spend some time in Europe. And I was like, well, I get back home in January or February, visit my mom, and then I'll just go to Iceland. And everyone's like, you're going to go to Iceland in February? are you nuts? Like, you need to go to Iceland in June or July. But I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I like cold weather, so it doesn't bother me at all. Robert Machinasia's by Branson. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know if you know this, but my father was a country musician, and he would play in a lot of the shows in the Ozarks and in Branson. Played in like Lee Mace's Ozark Opry, ton of shows in Branson. So I grew up, that's where my father lived, in the Ozarks and Branson. So in the summers I would go down to Branson or the Ozarks, and I would basically go to country western music shows every night because that's where my father worked, and he had no babysitter because musicians are broke and poor. So we would just go to the shows as little kids, and it was cool. I followed your channel when you were van lifing out west during lockdowns. Crazy to see you in my home country of Malaysia. That's awesome. I have a big Malaysian audience. I don't know if you know this, maybe you found me for van life, but my very first big video was in 2019. I traveled with a group program called Remote Year, and we moved to a different country every 30 days. One of them was here to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I did a video like 5 things I love about Malaysia, or something like that, or 5 things you shouldn't do in Malaysia. And it blew up. It was on like the Malaysian news channels, and I went from under 1,000 subscribers to 10,000 subscribers right away, all Malaysians. So like my first bit of success on YouTube was in Malaysia. So Malaysia will always have a special place in my heart, for sure. But that's interesting that you found me for van life. But I blew up in Malaysia a year before van life. So that's interesting. That you're from Malaysia, found me from van life, and I have that Malaysian connection before van life. Have you given any thoughts to what you're going to do next year? Asked Matthew. No, I'm kind of just going with the flow. After here, I'm here for a month in this apartment, and then I fly over to the Philippines. I'll be in Bonifacio Global City, BGC, for 3 months, and then I'm gonna go fly home, hang out with my mom. I'm gonna go to Hawaii for a couple weeks first. Then I'm gonna go home and hang out with my mom, and then I'm going to, I think I'm gonna go to Europe, but I'm not 100% sure. I've been looking at some cruises. I might book some cruises down in the Caribbean that then go up the west coast or east coast of the United States and do like New England area, and then Canada and maybe Greenland, and then maybe hop on a plane over to Iceland, do a month or 2 in Iceland, and we'll see. Europe's with the visas. It's a huge pain in the ass to do long-term travel there. Joe sold everything in 2017, bought a motorhome, and to travel 100% of the time. That's great. That's awesome. Malaysian coffees are sweet, sweet, sweet. Yeah, Malaysian coffees are very sweet. But if you've been following my channel, you know I love Fufu coffee. So I actually love sweet Malaysian coffee. I see my buddy Tim McKinley's in the house. Do Spain first and then hit Spain and finish up in Spain. That's a great idea. I wish it was, by the way, me and Tim were stationed in the military together. He's also a retired Command Master Chief. We pushed boots together. We were at the Recruit Training Command. We were both like drill sergeants. I always say drill sergeant because nobody knows the Navy term for that. And yeah, we did that together. Tim's just a great guy. So I appreciate you stopping in here, brother. And I know he was stationed in Spain for a long time. He was in Rota, I believe. But yeah, I would love to go back to Spain. I was in Valencia in 2020, before the pandemic, and I haven't been back since. Wait a second, yeah, I have. I have been back. I went to Barcelona on a cruise ship. But yeah, I need to get back to Spain. I wish it was the old days when they had their own visas. And I remember going to Spain when they had the peseta. And I want to say it was like 60 peseta to the dollar or something like that. It was ridiculous. For those that don't know, I was stationed in Italy back in the 1990s. And they had the lira, and it was 2,000 lira to the dollar. As a young sailor, low rank, I think I just made E5 when I got to Italy, which when you're under 4 years is not a lot of money at all. And but I was rich in Italy because it was 2,000 lira to the dollar, so it was great. And I was on a ship stationed out of there, so we would port hop all the time. And one of the places we went to, like 90% of the time, was Spain. We spent a lot of time in Barcelona, a lot of time in I keep wanting to say Ibiza, but it's the island next to Ibiza, Palma de Mallorca. Spent a lot of time in Palma, like a lot of time. Back then, for whatever reason, Navy ships went to Palma a lot. This was pre 9/11. I mean, we went there a lot. Like I used to have multiple shirts from the Daiquiri Palace there. Like if you drank every daiquiri they have there, you got this t-shirt, and it was like 120 daiquiris, different flavors or something like that. So you would have to do it over a time period. I mean, some sailors can knock that out pretty quickly. Not me. I'm not a heavy drinker. But yeah, so very cool. Very cool to see Tim running around in here. Thank you, man. Hey, where is Kaye? I haven't seen Kaye in a long time. I hope she's doing okay. Danny says, I do live trading in the Philippines when the market opens. Very cool. I'm excited about getting to the Philippines. I've just been binge watching so many videos on Bonifacio Global City, BGC. Danny, I'm super excited about it. I got an Airbnb basically in one of the more premier buildings in Uptown. So I'm super excited. I'm exactly in the spot I want to be. And I'm just super excited about exploring BGC. I know that's a bubble in the Philippines. I know people are going to give me crap about it, but that's okay. I don't care. It's easy to get fat in Malaysia. Yeah, I mean the food here, like they have this dish called nasi lemak, and it's so good. There's a bunch of different variations of it, but the thing that's consistent in all of them is it's this like coconut cooked rice, and it's so yummy. But I mean, one scoop of that coconut rice is probably, it's probably 1,000 calories. I don't know. But that's what makes it taste so good. I think it's like cooked in like butter and coconut. Like I don't know what it's cooked in, but it's the best rice you've ever had in your life. And it's so good. And they'll put something like, Malaysia is not anywhere near as spicy as Thailand. If you get Indian food here, you'll find some spicy stuff, but it's nowhere even close to the same level. But they do mix kind of like spicy with that, and it's so good. Like it's so good. Yeah, I start with planks. I started with 30-second increments, and then I just expanded. I'm not at 5 minutes yet. I'm slowly getting there. I have done 5 minutes before, but it's not something I can do every single time yet. But that's my goal, is to get it to where I can just do a 5-minute plank every single time. I have a buddy that can do like a 20-minute plank. So, and he's like 58. And for those who don't know, I turned 49 in a couple days, by the way. So it's my last year in my 40s. My goal, someone asked me about my goals earlier. One of my goals is to have a six-pack in my 50s. So I'm working on that a lot, and a plank is a big part of that. So a big part of that goal. The weather in Southeast Asia is very unpredictable, and you can't plan. I agree with that 100%. It is very unpredictable. Like 1 minute it's like nice and sunny, and the next minute it's raining, and 2 minutes later it's not raining again. It's crazy. I was stationed in Hawaii for almost 10 years, so I'm very familiar with that kind of climate. Like in Hawaii, it's like, I mean, in Hawaii you can be getting rained on and there's no clouds in the sky. It's like the strangest thing. So I'm completely used to this. Hawaii has like a rainy season, but not like the monsoon season like the Philippines, Thailand, and Malaysia have, like especially the Philippines. It definitely has a lot of rain during certain times of year, but not like the monsoons like the Philippines has. But I love that. I love heavy rain. So for me, it's not a big deal. Do you recommend paying for travel health insurance if traveling overseas full-time, or just self-insure? So again, a great channel for that is Grounded Life Finances or Grounded Life Travel. They have a bunch of really good healthcare information, and it's a man and woman in their 50s. They travel full-time, and they have some great information on that. I'm retired military, so I get my TRICARE for life, which is great. And so my situation is a little different. I also bounce around, and so I use my Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card, which I have a link down below to get, you can get that one or the preferred if you don't want to pay the big fee. And that gives me travel insurance, which is a ton of money for medical, a ton of money for cancellations. And since I always put my stuff on that credit card, I'm always covered by that credit card as well. So I've never felt a need to get any insurance. I have had things go wrong with me medically overseas, and I usually just pay out of pocket. I got into a motorcycle wreck in Thailand, for those that have been following me for a while. I had really bad road rash. They had to do a bunch of x-rays because they thought I broke my ribs. And they did a ton of x-rays. They had to call in an x-ray tech because it was like a rural hospital out in the middle of nowhere, although it was really nice. This nurse cleaned me up at a clinic before they took me to the hospital by ambulance because they thought my ribs were broken. And they didn't charge me anything at that country clinic. Even though I tried and insisted on giving them money, they would not accept it. Even though they cleaned me up, I was all nasty. And at the main hospital, they did a bunch of x-rays, gave me antibiotics and a bunch of pain medicine, and the total bill was $20 with everything, 20 bucks. And that's just the way it is. For those who don't know, I had cancer last year. It was very minor cancer, treatable. I was cured. I found that out when I was in Thailand. I did a men's health check, which I'm gonna do actually in Malaysia, actually in a couple days, on September 9th, I think. And it was a couple $100 to get that check, and that's where they found my cancer. They didn't find it in the United States on my annual medical visit, but they found it there. And yeah, so I think the healthcare overseas is better, and it's super affordable. And I usually just pay out of my pocket. When I was in Mexico City, I got a really bad ear infection, had to go to the doctor and get treated, and it was, I don't know, it was like 30 bucks. So for the most part, I just pay out of my pocket. If I needed to make a claim with my insurance company, then I would, or even with, with my TRICARE for life, I could too, because technically this is considered vacation because I don't have a permanent resident anywhere. I'm staying in Airbnbs and hotels, paying with my credit card, so it's no different than a vacation would be. So. It's the amount of daylight in February in Iceland. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I like that. Either a lot of daylight or no daylight. I still thank you for the Valley of the Gods boondocking spot tips. The spot was amazing. That's awesome. I'm glad that you've had a good experience with that. That's really cool. Just got a super chat. I appreciate that. Let me read that here real quick. Starting in Southeast Asia journey in October in Malaysia, staying 90 days, want to stay in a 5-mile radius of Petronas Towers. Any tips on negotiating boots on the ground deals? So I usually don't do boots on the ground deals. I know a lot of people that do, and I think that's actually a great strategy. I just always end up finding stuff on Airbnb. I have a whole video that I just did about it, so go check that out, like on how to make sure you get a good Airbnb. And if I'm staying in an Airbnb like 90 days, I definitely negotiate with the host. They'll have a monthly rate, but I say, hey, I'm gonna stay 90 days. Do you have a better rate? And most of the time they'll say yeah, because they love having someone in there 90 days. They have to pay for less cleaning, less turnover. They don't have any empty days. It's great for them as well. So I have a video on that. That's a great thing to do, but you can do boots on the ground. I don't know the name of it, but there's tons of places within 5 minutes of Petronas Towers that you can just walk into and get a place for a month. And you can just try it out the good thing about doing what you're doing, you can just try it out for a night. So if it sucks, then you can bail. But yeah, I have not done that, but it's definitely something that you can do in this part of Asia for sure. Two back-to-back cruises on NCL. I leave Friday for 2 weeks. That's awesome. I love NCL, Joe. It's one of my favorites, especially for solo travelers. It's usually a little bit more pricey. That's why I didn't spend a lot of time on NCL, but it's great for solo travelers. Fasting works well at my age. Yeah, I do a lot of intermittent fasting. Actually, it's 90% of what I do. I usually only eat 1 or 2 meals a day within a 6-hour period. A lot of times just one meal, to be honest with you. But yeah. Indonesian pop coffee called Kopi Luwak. I will try that. That sounds really good. Tim says you can do the expat thing. Spain is one of my favorite countries in the world. I love Spain. I love Spanish culture. I love the food. It's probably one of my favorite places in the world. It's definitely top 5. Maybe. It's up there in it's in top 3, and it could at certain times on my mood be number 1. I love Spain. It's one of my favorite places. So yeah, it's definitely a place I could see living at. A good friend of mine that I was stationed with, he actually was born in Spain. His father was in the Navy, his mother was Spanish. He was born in Spain, so he has dual citizenship, US and American, but he grew up in Spain his whole life. And then he joined the US military. And he's actually not even retired yet, but he should be soon. He's got to be hitting 30 years pretty soon. And he had more time than me, so he's got to be at 30. But he married a Spanish woman, and I've always went and stayed with him in Spain, which is great, and visited him. And I've thought about buying a place in Spain, and once he gets out of the military and settles down there, he could watch it for me. So I've actually thought about buying a place in Spain so I could get that golden visa and then just be able to travel in Europe however I want. And Spain's one of those places that I would definitely buy a place at if I was going to buy a place overseas. Jerry says he was an Army drill sergeant at Fort Benning. Very cool. And 2 years at Airborne Instructor School. Very, very cool. I got loaned out to the Army for a year, and because I did a tour in Iraq, but I had to go down to Georgia and train with the Army at a place called Camp McCready, which is next to whatever that big base is in Georgia. Is it Fort Benning? Might even be Fort Benning. I don't know. I can't remember. But I was on a place called Camp McCready, and I was an E8 at the time. And so they had a bunch of Army drill sergeants trying to teach us to be more Army. We were Navy guys in Army uniforms wearing Navy rank, which as an officer, it's not a big deal. Even though they're different names, they have the same rank insignia, but enlisted, it's totally different. And I was a senior chief, which is an anchor with a big star. So everyone thought I was a general. when I'd walk around. Plus I was a little bit older. And so everyone thought I was a general, which was, when you're in Iraq, you don't want people thinking you're a general because like then you're a target. So yeah, it was interesting hanging out with the Army for a year. We were an Army unit, but we deployed with the Marine Corps, 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force to Al-Assad, Iraq. But then about 2 or 3 months into my tour, the 82nd Airborne came in and took over. So we switched from the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force to the 82nd Airborne. So I was with the 82nd Airborne most of the time in Iraq. When you take a girlfriend to BGC, she says she feels like she's not in the Philippines anymore. I'm in Cebu City, and we love taking the ferry to Bohol. That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to explore. I mean, I'm going to be in the Philippines for 3 months, so I'm definitely going to go explore the islands and some of the best white sand beaches that you think of in your mind when you see pictures of like Sandals resorts are photos and videos from the Philippines. That's where that crystal clear blue water is with those white beaches. I'm super excited about it. Nasi lemak's literal translation is fat rice. That's so funny. I started watching videos about BGC because of you. It seems like almost all the expats and couples or men, I haven't found many solo female travelers, would be interested in your take once you arrive. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the ratio is. I know it's very family friendly, so a lot of families are moving there. Like I watch Always Be Changing and Mom Duty, who moved their family over to Bonifacio Global City. It's very family friendly. If you don't know about it, it's a very walkable city. They have these huge, like 20 feet wide sidewalks, and it's just very walk friendly, family friendly place, dog friendly. It's very safe. Not that other places in Philippines aren't safe. Philippines is a pretty safe place in general, but it's like super safe, like Tokyo, Japan safe type of safe. So. Someone said, Candid said, what are your 5 favorite places? So asking me that is like asking someone who has kids, what's their favorite kid, right? I'm a very much travel by my mood type of person. Like some people only like Thailand, only like Asia, like being in Asia, only like being in Europe, only like being in South America. Like I am an all of the above person. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm in the mood to be in Mexico City and eat amazing food. Sometimes I'm in the mood to be in Colombia and just relax and chill and meet all the crazy Colombian people, and I mean that in a very good way. Sometimes I'm in the mood to be in Thailand surrounded by a Buddhist culture that's really relaxed and accepting. Sometimes I'm in the mood to be in Bali with all the hippy dippy people. It just depends on my mood that I'm in. Sometimes I'm in the mood to be in Hawaii where I can surf all the time. Sometimes I'm in the mood to be in Europe, surrounded by all the amazing European architecture. And yeah, it just depends on my mood. So it's hard for me to pick like top 5 because it really depends on my mood. I mean, I love St. Louis, Missouri. A lot of people wouldn't like it, but sometimes I'm in the mood to be in St. Louis, Missouri. So it just depends on my mood. So it's very difficult for me to say what my top 5 places are. Obviously, I bought a 20-year visa to Thailand, so obviously I love Thailand. It's one of my favorite places in the world. Great food, great people, affordable. So I love it there. It's a place that I love to just go and relax and chill. It's like, it's like the song from The Lion King, no words for the rest of your life, that song. It's like that type of place, to be honest with you. It's just a very worry-free place, and so that's why I love it. So I'll put Thailand there. Man, my buddy Ivan's in the house. Man, you didn't have to throw no freaking super chat out there, bro. Thanks for the happy birthday. A Polaris shout out. So Ivan, I traveled with Ivan with Remote Year. I've talked about Remote Year on here a lot. I'm actually thinking about doing it again. As an introvert, I love the built-in I love the built-in social interactions that I can opt into whenever I want. And it's great. For those that don't know, my first year of travel, I traveled in a program called Remote Year, where I lived in a different country every month for 12 months. We started down in South America and Central America, did 4 countries there. Then we hopped over to Asia, did 4 countries over here. Then we went and did 3 countries in Europe, and then we ended in Cape Town, South Africa. And that was March of 2020 when it ended. I flew home on March 1st, and like the next day, COVID broke out. So we got really lucky in our timing. We were still traveling pre-COVID with Ivan. Me and Ivan went to Christmas markets in Europe, which was awesome. I don't know if he remembers that, but we went down to this Christmas market and we drank this, like, I'm not a big drinker, but I do like a beer or wine every now and again. And we were in this European Christmas market. I can't remember where we were at, maybe Budapest. I can't remember what country we were in. But we went to this Christmas market, and I don't know why nobody else wanted to go, but just me and you wanted to go. And they had this like chestnut heated wine, like they had these big barrels of wine that they were like cauldrons, and they were heating up this wine with chestnuts. And we drank a bunch of those heated wines because it was freezing cold, and just explored these Christmas markets in Europe, and it was just really cool. And I just have such a fond memory of that, with me and Ivan running around the Christmas market. But yeah, it was really cool. Me and Ivan were 2 of the older guys in the club. I mean, I started Remote Year, I think I was 40, man, what was that, 2019. So God, that was like 6 years ago now, 5 years ago. So I was probably 43 when we started, 42 or 43. I think I was 43. And I'll be 49 pretty soon. So in a couple days, I'll be 49, which Ivan just mentioned. But yeah, so my last year of being 40, we weren't the only 40-year-olds. There were a few of us in there. I think Nikki was either at the very beginning of her 40s. We had one guy that was in his 50s. He only stayed like 2 or 3 months though, and then he left. And yeah, there were a handful of us in our 40s, and then most of the group was actually in their mid 30s, I would say. We only had a couple that were like in their early 20s. A lot of people would think it would be a bunch of people in their early 20s, but it wasn't. This was pre-COVID, by the way. So like remote work was like not, it was a thing, like digital nomadism was a thing, but it wasn't like super common. And it was a bunch of people that traveled together that could work remotely. That was part of the program. You paid a monthly fee to Remote Year that included your lodging. You had an apartment. You shared with 1 or 2 other people. They were big apartments, so if it was 3 people, it was huge 3 bedrooms with beautiful views like this. You could also get your own apartment. I did that a couple months. You pay a little bit extra. It wasn't that much extra. It was like $100 or something like that. So I did that 1 or 2 months. And, but most of the time I just lived with either 1 or 2 other people. I don't think me and Ivan ever lived together. It rotated with who you lived with, but it was like 30 plus people. Did me and Ivan ever live together? If we did, it was like a month where you were out of town or something. Because I don't remember us ever living together, Ivan. I don't think we ever had a place together, which is kind of weird. Maybe because we're from the same demographic age-wise, they tried to keep like a younger person, a middle-aged person, and an older person together to balance it out. I don't know. All right, let me scroll back in here. But yeah, I miss that group of people. That's my one big thing about going and doing Remote Year again is I've learned a long time ago that you can't, like, places are amazing, but it's really about the people that were in your life during the time you were in those places. Like I'll give you, for instance, I was stationed in Hawaii my first tour with a group of guys and women that were like, we were super close, a really tight-knit group, spent a lot of time together. I was in a punk rock band back then called 101 Delta. We were actually a little bit famous in Hawaii. We were actually one of the local bands during the Warped Tour, if you remember that, the Warped Tour. And we would play a lot of local bars and things like that. Anyway, that group of friends, we were so tight. And then I went to Italy for a couple of years. And then I was like, oh, I want to get back to Hawaii. But all my friends had moved on, and it just wasn't the same. Like, that's when I realized that like visiting places is amazing, but what you really makes you nostalgic for the places are the people that you spent time with in those places. And so that's one of the things I'm worried about remote year is doing it again and not having such a, I just saw my little niece on here. Okay, everyone keep it PG and PG-13, or PG. My little niece is like 7 years old, and I just saw she is on my live stream, which is amazing. Hello, little Harper Bug. How are you? Hopefully you're doing good. Harper is my little niece, so everyone be nice. How you doing, Harper? Where was I at? But yeah, I realized that it's about the people and not so much the places. The places add to the experience, but it's really about the people. So I am super, like going and doing remote year again, part of me is a little apprehensive about that because like, can you capture that magic in a bottle twice? I don't know if you can. I don't know if the group dynamics will be the same or, you know, I'm not sure if I can capture that magic in a bottle again. I don't know if I would be able to, so. Yeah, so part of me is a little apprehensive about doing remote year again because of what that's a testament to Ivan and all the other people I travel with, what an amazing group of people I got to travel with, and with doing remote year again, with the cast of characters, would I have the same closeness and affinity for that cast of characters? I don't know. I don't know if I would or not. Nikki said, oh, to be your age, 51 now, but 19 in my head. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'll be 49 in a couple days. And when I look in the mirror, not when I look in the mirror, when I look in the mirror, I see a guy who's older. But in my mind, I don't feel any different. Like I'm still, which is probably bad because I guess I'm just an immature guy. I mean, people say that about me all the time because I'm not married, I don't have any kids, I travel all the time, I just go out and do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I don't have any like responsibilities other than taking care of myself. And so basically people are like, you're just a big kid, like you never grew up. I mean, I buy what I want to buy, I do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I guess I am just a big overgrown kid. But yeah, I don't feel any different in my mind. And I don't know if that changes. Like my mother, when I was traveling with my mother recently, and she's 70, and she said the same thing. Like her mind is the same, but her body just doesn't respond the same way anymore. And her father's still alive, my grandfather, and he's in his mid 90s, and he lives by himself. He's solo. He's kind of like the poster child, I think, to how my life's going to be. My grandmother passed away when he was in his 50s. And so he's been solo bachelor since he was in his 50s, so for over 40 years now. And I'm like, I see my future when I look at him. Hopefully I'm in as good a shape as him that I can still, at 94, live on my own and do everything I want to do when I want to do it, which he still does. All right, I'm scrolling down. If I missed your question for some reason, I apologize, and I'll try to find it here. But if I if I've already passed it, like you're like, oh, he passed my question without answering it. It wasn't on purpose, I just missed it. Put it out there again and I'll answer it. My Navy son arrives in Hawaii next week. A stop on his deployment coming home. Can't wait to see him. Can't wait for him to see Oahu, one of my favorite places in the world. That's amazing. I spent, that base is awesome. There's a lot of convenient stuff in walking distance from probably where he'll be moored at. So good for him. I miss that place. I have so many fond memories of Hawaii and that base specifically. So, why not stay in hotels? Asked Ronan. So I do have the IHG credit card, link down below, shameless plug. And I have a ton of points. I have over 300,000 points now. And I will be using that. And I actually was supposed to in Thailand, but why did I have to cancel that? I can't remember why I had to cancel that hotel, but I had to cancel it. I was going to be in a hotel for 45 days with IHG, but I ended up switching that out for, I can't remember why. But I will be doing that in the future. I just had all these Airbnb booked before I really started getting in the ground of life finances, and I got my IHG credit card. So I do have an IHG credit card with a ton of points. I mean, I can stay well over a month somewhere right now. And I plan on doing that in the future. I also have 5 free days. I have my 1 annual free day, plus my 4-day free bonus. So I actually have a lot of free days. I miss Malaysian healthcare. Yeah, for those that don't know, Malaysia has some of the best healthcare in the world, definitely better than the US. And that's where I like to go get my men's health physical, which I'm going to do on September, a couple days after my birthday. I do it every year. And they do everything, like MRI, CAT scan. Like when you walk out of that thing, like you know you're good to go. And it's at Prince Court Medical Center, if you've never heard of it before. It's a private hospital. And I think all my tests are like $400 US, something like that. But for me, for peace of mind, I mean, it's everything you can think of. All your blood work, STD tests, anything you can think of as a man that might be wrong with you, prostate, colon, anything you can think of as a man that might be wrong with you. They check your hormone levels, like your testosterone levels and all that stuff that you have to start worrying about when you become a man over 50, like I'm about to be. Well, I still got a year. I still got a year before I'm 50, but 49 in a couple days. Hey, Lieutenant Dave. Good morning, shipmate from the Philippines. To answer your question from the previous live, yes, in the Navy, medical retired, Lieutenant Commander, very cool. Very cool, Commander. Served on a couple DDs, MPS, and SWO, Navy Amphibious Base, Coronado. Very cool. I never did any, that's not true. I was about to say I never was stationed on the West Coast, but that is not true. I mean, I was in Hawaii, but I don't really consider that West Coast. I consider it overseas. It's way too far West Coast. But I was stationed in Everett, Washington on the Abraham Lincoln, which when you were in was probably in Alameda, was in California. I was on the Lincoln out of Everett, Washington. And yeah, I was stationed there for 4 years. Although a year of that I was deployed. I did an IA assignment. I was loaned out to the Army and did a year in Iraq for a year of that, but yeah. Yeah, people are talking about that weight loss drug. Yeah, my mom did it and she like swears by it. Like it's really helped her. She has diabetes and she lost a ton of weight. I would love to try it. I don't even know if I can, I don't even know, can you just go off the street and like say, hey, give me that drug? Just for a little bit. I want to lose like 15 more pounds to get those abs showing. Wow, that's crazy. Sorry to hear about that, Joe, but the good thing is we won the lottery of cancers. I've had cancer twice, by the way. I had skin cancer up here, it got chopped out. I actually had this checked at a dermatologist last time I was home, and it was nothing. Although I still want to get it removed. I don't like it. But yeah, I had that checked, and yeah, I had cancer on my forehead, basal cell skin cancer, which is like the lottery of cancers, and they just chopped it out. And then I had prostate cancer, and then I went through treatment in St. Louis, and everything's good to go now. So. Hey, Maxine, how you doing? Oh, Blake's in here too. So Blake and Harper are my niece and nephew. My brother's kids. I have how many nieces and nephews do I have? Let's see, Blake, Harper, Cordelia, Audrey, Ethan, Caleb. So I have 6 total. 6 total. That's why I don't need to have kids. My brothers and sister took care of all that. And I can just be the cool uncle. One of my friends, she has her Instagram handle is like Cool Aunt Casey. And I thought about getting an Instagram handle like that, Cool Uncle Kevin. Or maybe even changing my YouTube channel to Cool Uncle Kevin instead of 30 to Wake Up. Yep, Harper's in school. Harper just started kindergarten. Your content Q&As are getting better and better. Fantastic tips. Well, I appreciate that, Dan. Thank you very much. Good morning, MC. Haven't caught a live in a while. What's going on, Ron? How you doing? What year were you in Hawaii? I was in Hawaii from 1994 to 98, and then 2000 to 2004. Thanks. My nephew Blake says, thanks for saying hi. She has to go to bed. Yeah, it's pretty late there. Although it's Central Time, so it's, what is that? It's probably 8 o'clock at night, but still late for Harper. I drive Harper nuts all the time when she comes in. I usually, when I go home, my mom has a couple spare bedrooms, and I just stay at my mother's house. And sometimes my niece will come over, and I go to bed early, and I'm always like, it's bedtime. But I'll always be like, in the middle of the day, I'll be like, it's nap time. She's like, no, it's not nap time. I'm like, yeah, it's nap time. Let's take a nap. So I always want to take a nap. I think naps are the key to a happy life. I don't take long naps, but I try to take 1 half-an-hour nap every day. I never feel better than I do after a nap. Do you recommend Airbnb that's near Petronas Towers? So, I mean, there's a ton. So, I mean, the best thing to do is to open the Airbnb app near the Petronas Towers and then just start going through them. Like sort them by, first thing to do, sort them by guest favorites. Do not stay in an Airbnb that's not a guest favorite. I have a whole video about this, by the way. And then look for Airbnbs that have at least 10 reviews, but you usually want more than that. Hopefully a ton of reviews and recent reviews. And make sure everything's like at least 4.8 or above. And go in there and read the reviews. And you'll see, like, when you start reading the reviews, and also in the write-up, but you'll see like, oh, walking distance to Petronas Towers. But it's really easy to, there's a ton of buildings there that have rentals in them, like short-term rentals in them, like a ton, a zillion. And so you can definitely find them. Even if you only want to stay in an Airbnb for a night or two, just get an Airbnb and then you can walk around and check the buildings, or maybe even the building you're in, you can just go to the front desk and see if they have any long-term stays, and most of them will have like the 30-day stays. Is there a concern about radiation? So it's not something I've ever been concerned about, because I think you need to do it all the time. So it's not something and I used to live on an aircraft carrier with nuclear reactor on board. So I'm always I used to sleep next to a nuclear reactor for years of my life. So. Was there amazing astronomy from the cruise ships? There was, but nothing like from my Navy ships. So cruise ships always have all the lights on, which causes even light pollution, and they're usually not that far off a coast. When you do a transatlantic, you'll have some mid of the ocean stuff, but most of the time they're not too far off the coast, so you're still getting light pollution whether you can see it or not. In the Navy, I've been out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, thousands of miles from land, where there's no light pollution. And in the Navy, you always run dark at night. You never have lights on. You always run dark. When you don't turn lights on. You're dark at night. The only lights you have on are your running lights, your port and starboard running lights and your stern light. That's it. And all the lights inside the ship are red lights at night, so other people can't see you. And so going out topside on a Navy ship out in the middle of the ocean, 1,000 miles from land, with no light pollution, you can see the Milky Way. It's undescribable. It feels like you can just reach out and grab stars. That's how close you feel, but also how small you feel, and I've never been able to recreate it in any other environment, whether it's been up in mountains looking at the sky. When you're out in the middle of the ocean where there is zero light pollution, it's just amazing. Maybe you can find that out in the middle of the desert or something. I've heard that before. That's where a lot of people go and do those time-lapse photographies, but it's that's where I've seen the most beautiful skies. Another really cool thing you'll see is the plankton. You've probably seen it, you've probably been on beaches at night and seen when the waves go, you see these little flashes of light. So you'll see, that's the plankton's reaction. It puts out these little lights. I've been out in the middle of the ocean, 1,000 miles from land, and there's been these huge groups of plankton, and it's like a disco show. For miles across the ocean, it's just all these lights lighting up at night on the ocean. And it's like green because of the color of the water, greenish blue. And it's like a discotheque. And it's just millions of lights going off in the middle of the ocean, out in the middle of nowhere. And it's the photosynthesis I can't remember the term for it, but photo reaction of the plankton. And it's just it's like nothing I've ever seen, and it's hard to describe to people that haven't seen it. And it's awesome. Hey Kevin, good morning from Melbourne, Australia. Do you ever get annoyed when traveling by slow walkers? I'm a fast walker. I'm a very fast walker. I used to be much faster, or not much faster. I'm a very fast walker. But I hung out with my friend JG, who also did remote year with me and Ivan. That dude walks like a marathon. I've never been with someone that walks so fast. He walked super fast. But yeah, slow walkers can get on my nerves. But what gets on my nerves more than slow walkers, that's fine if you want to walk slow, I'll just go around you, is people that are not cognizant of their environment. They're just walking nonchalantly without paying attention to other people around them when they should be. And I'm talking about like in places like grocery stores and aisles and stuff, and like in places where there's like obvious flows of traffic and not like walking with the flow of traffic or getting out of the flow of traffic way. That's what really annoys me, is when people are don't pay attention to their surroundings when they're walking. So that's worse than slow walkers for me. At least slow walkers are moving. Maybe there's a reason why they're walking slow. JL says, a big overgrown kid, having a blast traveling at 71. Man, I hope you're like me. I always tell this story. I met a guy at a hostel a long time ago. He was in his mid to late 70s, and he was just traveling around the world. He had lost his wife, and they were big travelers. And he just sold everything and started traveling. And I remember talking to him, and he said, yeah, I'm just gonna travel until I die. Like, my goal is to like be somewhere really peaceful, beautiful mountain, and I just kicked the bucket. He's like, but yeah, he's like, my goal is to be able to just travel until I pass away. And I was like that's like, when I point to like an instrumental moment in my life, that was one of them. And I remember like, that's kind of like, that's what I want to do. I just want to travel, and then one day just kick the bucket, and hopefully somewhere beautiful and peaceful, like he was talking about. But yeah. Kevin is an introvert and suave ladies man. I would not say I'm a suave ladies man. Oh, you are an introvert and suave ladies man. Okay, I thought you were saying I am. I'm planning 1 month abroad in Tokyo, Jakarta, and Kuala Lumpur. Which one would you recommend? I mean, those are all great places. Like, you cannot go wrong with any of those places. I love them all. I would say for meeting ladies, I think they're all fine as well. Kuala Lumpur is probably a little easier because everyone speaks English. So if you just speak English, your dating pool is going to be much bigger in Kuala Lumpur, but it's also a mostly Muslim country. So that can make dating a little bit harder with some people. So yeah. Kids get wise with the nap thing pretty quickly. Thanks for being a channel member too for so long, Anne, by the way. Starting to wake up as a fun uncle. We all love growing up. That's awesome. Okay. I love that there's so much back and forth conversation in my live streams between people. I love that. Navy ships don't even run nav lights. Yeah, they do run nav lights. So you'll have your lights and your stern light and a mast light, usually. But no other lights. Like, basically you look like a fishing vessel or something in the middle of the night. Where do you get work done? Room, executive lounge, or cafes? All of the above. Like, there's every floor in this building that I'm in has their own little outdoor seating area, like a little park, like a little dog park type of park. It's pretty cool. Every floor has one. And then they have a pool deck area, which is gorgeous. And they have Wi-Fi, so that's great. And then obviously coffee culture is everywhere, and it's really big in Asia now. It's kind of like, coffee culture now is kind of like it was in the 90s in the US, like the Java cafes, like Friends, except for they have Wi-Fi too. And so there's a lot of coffee, like cool, bohemian type coffee shops everywhere in Asia, which is great. Like, I love that coffee culture. But yeah, there's a lot of places. But yeah, anywhere I want, like, this is a great little spot, obviously, that I'm sitting at. So. Oh, Kaylee. I miss Kaylee. Someone gave a Kaylee update. Well, I'm glad at least she's doing okay. Monica says your apartment is gorgeous. How much? So through Airbnb, $900 for the month. If you rented this apartment, if you want to go back and see an apartment tour, I gave one in the beginning. I also uploaded a short video, YouTube short, which probably a little bit better than, with the live stream. But this apartment is $900 through Airbnb. That includes utilities though and internet. If you rented this apartment in this building, it's going to be between $400 and $500 a month for a 1-bedroom or studio like I'm in right now. And your utilities and internet will probably be another $100 a month. So you could be all in here for $500, $600 a month. If you wanted a bigger one, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, they have those in the building as well. They're more expensive. I think you can get a 2-bedroom for $1,000 a month, maybe, probably less actually, probably like $800. And then with 1 bathroom. If you have 2 bathrooms, maybe it'll be closer to $1,000. And then 3-bedroom, I think this building has 3 bedrooms. I'd probably say $1,200 a month or something like that. Chick says, I'd be terrible to date a man I met traveling. I get that for sure. I get that. What is your Iceland itinerary going to look like? If I go to Iceland, I'm going to get a place on the waterfront right in Reykjavik, and then I'll probably take some trips to the different cool stuff you can do there, but I'll be right on the, my goal is to be right on the waterfront. They have amazing waterfront condos there. Actually on off-peak times are actually not that expensive, relative, everything's relative, but yeah. I thought BGC Philippines was a pretty large town, but it sounds like you're going to stay in smaller special community. Yeah, I'll be in Uptown. I mean, BGC is a big neighborhood, but it's walkable. But I'll be in what's called Uptown BGC. So. Monica will be 73 this Friday. Wait a second. This Friday. What day is Friday? I'll be 49 sometime. It's either Friday or Saturday, I think. I never pay attention to my birthday because it's not like something I celebrate like myself. It's just another normal day for me. But like if I was home or something, I would go out to eat with my mother probably or something like that. But normally, I mean, it's just another day for me. But so I don't even know what day it's on. I know it's coming up. It's in the first week of September. I had some dental work done in the Philippines, filling redone, x-rays, checkup, and it was 5,000 pesos, 88 bucks. That's amazing. I mean, for those that don't know, go watch my dental video. I got 22 crowns and 6 veneers in Thailand. Have a whole video about it if you're interested. Do you have a system for keeping in touch with people you meet while traveling? Yeah, I mean, you connect on like Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, things like that. That's where my remote year group, we have a WhatsApp group that we talk to each other on. Like we've had that since 2019, still going strong. And same thing, I have like groups with other people on different, like types of things like that. DMC was a Navy quartermaster, spent 8 years on the bridge, did a lot of 12 on, 12 off. Amazing stars, very cool. I was in navigation admin department. I was in human resources when I first started, but I was on a frigate and we did 11-month deployment, and I actually got conning officer, junior officer of the deck, and officer of the deck at sea, which is very rare for a non-quartermaster to get. But yeah, I got OOD underway. OOD qualified when I was in E6. It was probably the reason I made chief, actually. And I did that on the Reuben James, a frigate. And I'm thankful every day that my commanding officer let me do that. After an 11-month deployment, we pulled into port, and I was the conning officer when we pulled into port. We had an all-enlisted bridge team, and our QM1 was the officer of the deck, and I was the conning officer. But I did get officer of the deck underway qualified on that deployment. So I'm super proud. It's one of the things I'm most proud of in my Navy career, that I got officer of the deck underway qualified on a frigate. Do you ever get worried about traveling by plane? Do you have any seating hacks? I always get lumped in with the biggest extrovert. So because I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve card, I have a ton of travel points, and I almost fly business class all the time. And usually that means like the privacy type of business class because I'm doing longer flights. And so nobody really bothers me because you're in your own little like cubby hole or whatever. But yeah, I usually don't have to worry about that. And a lot of times, to be honest with you, I'll already be listening to a podcast and people just generally leave me alone. I'm not antisocial. I will socialize with somebody. I enjoy socializing with people. I'm not antisocial. I'm just an introvert. I recharge my batteries by being alone. I am as far on the introvert spectrum as you can be. So like, I don't mind spending lots of time alone. It doesn't bother me at all like it does some people. But I also love being social and talking with people. So I don't mind if someone talks to me on a flight. Maybe you can make a video from outside the city, from where you are now. Yeah, I might do that. Go to North Korea to see the stars. Yeah, I mean, that's where you could get no light pollution. I've heard that, actually, I've been in the desert, and the desert is really good too. The desert in the United States is really good. John says his girlfriend used to still be eating 1 hour. Yeah, so because I was in the military for 20 years, like one of the things you learn, especially in boot camp, is how to eat really, really fast because you only have like a couple minutes. And it just continues in the military because if you're on a ship, you just go down and eat real quick so you can get back up to your job. And I'm just a fast eater. And so yeah, that's been my problem a lot too. I don't expect people to eat as fast as me though. But yeah, whoever I'm with will be done like way before I'm done, or will be eating long after I've been done for a while, which is fine, I don't care. Monica says, I'm a solo travel, but getting a late start. Hey, better late than never. Some people never do it. Some people die with the dream, you know? That's always been my goal, is to not die with a dream of something I want to do. Like I mentioned earlier in this life, I'm crazy. One of the things I've always wanted to do is be an over-the-road truck driver. And I thought about going back to the United States and getting my CDL and doing that for a year, just living out of a truck, not getting an apartment or anything. I've always wanted to do it, so I don't know if I'm going to, but it's like I've been thinking about it a lot lately and watching a lot of YouTube videos of people doing it. I'll be on a cruise with Ali and Rob in November. Anyone here going? I wish I was. That'd be so awesome. I mean, I'm in the Philippines then, but that's amazing. Maybe I'll try to catch one of their future ones, but I got to hang out with them in Thailand. If you don't watch them, Grounded Life Finances, Grounded Life Travel is their YouTube channel. They're amazing. I love those guys, one of my favorite YouTube channels, and they were gracious enough to meet up with me when I was in Bangkok. If you're eating with someone and they finish before you, what do you think about this? I think I just answered that. I just hang out and talk and chat with them. Order dessert, you know, get a mocktail, or coffee actually. I get coffee usually. Andrea says, Kevin, the night we had dinner on Sky, it was 3 hours. They kind of pushed us out. Yeah, so I met Andrea on the Sky Princess. That's her favorite cruise ship, by the way, because she has her own little special spot, like aft of the buffet. Like there's an amazing, like, I don't know what you would call it, like a vestibule type area on the sides of the ship going to the aft part of the ship that has beautiful views of the ocean, all glass. And it's outside though. You're still outside, but it's covered. And that was Andrea's spot. But I don't go to the main dining room very often because I just don't like putting on pants. But Andrea invited me, so I was like, okay, I'll go. When someone invites me, I go. I like going. I just usually have to have a reason. And so, but it was like 3 hours long that night because it just took forever. So, but I still like it. But yeah, every time I was on Sky Princess, when Andrea wasn't there, every time I would walk past her spot where she was always sitting, I'd always like be nostalgic about it. And I would, for a brief second, I would look for her and see if she was there, but she wasn't. But yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, I've been looking at some cruises on Enchanted Princess in 2025, which is very similar to Sky Princess. But maybe Sky too, because Sky, I believe Sky is in Europe then. I was looking at their schedule and I kind of like it. So maybe Sky as well. I don't know, we'll see. Ronan says I have to say before I go, yeah. I mean, I've talked about this a million times, so I do have a military pension. I am super fortunate. I did 20 years. But my whole life, I grew up in, I'm not going to say they were poor, but we were lower middle class. I don't mean that in a negative way. We had food, had school clothes, all that stuff, but not that much more. Like my parents weren't rich or anything. My father certainly wasn't rich. But my mother was like a hard worker and provided everything we needed to get by. And, but I always had to make my own money if I wanted something, stuff like that. Although my mom did buy me a car when I turned 16. It was like a $1,300 Ford Escort. I think I had to save half and she paid half or something like that. But, which was amazing, great of her. But I joined the Navy in 1994. I was always kind of a nerd, and I was following the stock market in high school, back when the Dow was like at 4,000. And I was always interested in real estate investing and stock market investing. So the day I got out of boot camp, I got an E-Trade account way back in the day. That was like the only online account you could get. This was when the internet was brand new in 1994. So I had an E-Trade account, and I started buying stocks. And then I got into dividend investing. And when I was in the military, I was always building up my dividend income. So if I left the military without retiring, for whatever reason I needed to leave, like my mother got sick or something and I had to leave before retirement, that my passive income would cover my living expenses. And at that time, I owned like 7 rental properties as well. I had 7 rental properties, so I had passive income from those. Every duty station I went to, I bought a property and would rent it out after I left. And I only have 1 rental property now though, because managing that many rental properties across the US is a pain in the ass. But I built up a bunch of different passive income sources. And so I know like having one of them is my military retirement, which is awesome, but it's not even close to my biggest passive income source. And if I didn't have it, I'd still be doing this. So I always tell people, you don't have to have a military retirement to do this. You just have to come up with ways to create passive income sources or like online income. I have videos from back in the day when I did, VIP Kid, where I was teaching English online. I made over $2,000 a month doing that. I wanted to show people that you could do that. I always like making money as well because I love investing. I'm very fortunate that my most favorite hobby also helps me build my net worth. I love investing. I love buying stocks. I love investing. So I'm really fortunate that I love doing that. And so it's something I do. I buy stocks almost every day the market is open. I buy at least 1 share or more. You know, when my income comes in, a big chunk of it goes to buying passive income stuff. Buying stocks, buying dividend stocks, buying more risky stuff that I'm experimenting with, buying REITs, investing in my YouTube channel. Like I built my YouTube channel up where it's kind of passive income. I still make videos which make money. The videos make them. Like if I make a video, it'll make $100 or $200 right away. But all my old videos still make money. like all of a sudden my cruising videos are doing good again. And so my cruising videos by themselves, and I haven't cruised in months. I haven't made any cruise videos. My cruising videos by themselves are making about $1,000 a month right now because all of a sudden they're getting popular again for some reason. That happens, it goes up and down. Some of my videos, like my condo tour videos, will get popular all of a sudden. My van life videos will get popular. And so even when I don't make any videos, my YouTube channel makes money because all those videos I made continue to make money, whether it's a couple cents a month or a couple dollars a month or $100 a month. Each video is like its own little like real estate property that continues to generate income. Some don't generate that much, but some have been generating money for years. That YouTube video I did where I did a condo tour with the ocean view, that video makes $100. It's made $100, $200 a month for years, and I don't do anything with it. It just sits there and people watch it. And so I'm very fortunate in that respect. So yeah, that's my advice to people. You don't need a military retirement to do this. It's nice to have. I'm super happy I have it. It's great. You know, I'm super fortunate. I feel super blessed to have that. But you can build other passive income streams. But yeah. Anne wants to run the Disney 5K, so she needs to lay off the chips. Yeah, I love potato chips. And the good thing about like Thailand is it's really hard to find chips that I like because they're all these weird, crazy flavors. Some of them are good, but a lot of them are like, I should do a whole video about the different flavors of Lay's in Asia. Like there's like sushi flavored, seaweed flavored, like mussel flavored, like all kinds of flavors that we don't normally see in the United States. I should do a whole video about that. And Lay's is the one that's famous for that. But there are a bunch of other like brands that we've never even seen that are probably famous here. But in Malaysia, they have a lot of US flavors because for whatever reason, they love US stuff. Like they have like the jalapeno crunchy Cheetos, which I love. They have those here. And so I'll buy those, or like I just love classic Doritos. And they have classic Doritos here that aren't like some strange flavor. They're just like the ones from the United States. So I love, potato chips are probably one of my biggest favorite things. But if I have a bag of potato chips in the house, I will eat the whole bag. It ain't surviving the night. So I have to be very careful with that. I try not to have that stuff in the house. Or I buy a little bag and eat one bag. But if I bring a bag of potato chips, I just have no self-control when it comes to food. I just love eating. I love food. And so, yeah, a bag of potato chips. Right now, it's tough for me because there's those jalapeno cheddar Cheetos, man. I could eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I could eat those. I know that sounds terrible. It's so American and just terrible for you, but I love them. So I have to be really careful with that stuff. What was the moment you decided to travel the world? Some shift in your thinking. So SwearWorks, I grew up, that's a great question, by the way. I grew up in the Midwest in St. Louis, Missouri. I never left Missouri except for to go across the river to Illinois. And once we took a trip to Florida, a family vacation. We had this old RV. We went with my grandmother, which is great. I was really close with one of my grandmothers, like really, really close. And we got to go on this RV trip before she passed away. I was like probably 14 or 15, something like that. It was a family RV trip down to Florida. But that's the only vacation I ever stayed in my life. The only ocean I'd ever seen was the Gulf Coast ocean, because we didn't even go on the Atlantic side. We went on the Gulf Coast side, which if you know anything about oceans, is not that beautiful of an ocean, but to someone who had never seen the ocean before, it was amazing and beautiful. And I was living in St. Louis, and I didn't do very well in high school, and I was like, well, I need to go do something. So I was like, I'm going to join the military. And greatest decision of my life. And I was like, I don't want to be stationed in Missouri, because there was like an Army base in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And I was like, I don't want to end up being stationed in the Midwest. I want to be stationed by the ocean. And so I was like, what branch do I join? Obviously, it's the Navy. And that's what happened. I got stationed in Hawaii, my first duty station. And then I got stationed in Italy on the ocean, on the Serape coast, the Amalfi coast in Italy. And then I went back to Hawaii and stationed there. And so I started traveling right away. And I was traveling the world in my, as a teenager. At 18, I was traveling the world. And when I retired from the military, I didn't realize how much I loved being nomadic. I was single almost my entire time in the military. I was married for 2 years, but I was gone that entire 2 years, which is why we ended up divorced, because I was deployed. 9/11 happened right after I got married, and I was deployed for 2 years. I never saw my wife, and she was just kind of like, oh, this sucks, I don't want to do this, which is fine. I mean, believe me, I'm over it. It's a long time ago. But I was always deployed. I always volunteered to go on deployments and be on ships. And in the Navy, when you deploy, you just travel around the world on a boat. And I traveled around the world and was nomadic my whole adult life. It's all I knew from 18 till I retired when I was 39 from the military. And I got out, went to law school. I always wanted to go to law school, something I wanted to do, and got a job as a corporate lawyer in New York City. Best job you can get as a lawyer financially, and was making tons of money, living in an amazing city in New York. I love it. And I realized this is my worst nightmare, being stuck somewhere. I didn't realize how much I'd grown accustomed to being nomadic from my time in the military. And all of a sudden I was faced with do I want to stay somewhere forever? And the answer was no. And so I gave my 2 weeks notice. I found that program Remote Year. I was like, let's travel that way. I bought some video recording equipment so I can make YouTube videos. I was like, well, I want to be able to make some money somehow. And, even though I had my passive income sources, I've always been someone that I wanted an income, a normal income. And so I was like, well, I need to figure out a way to make money. So I was like, well, let me do YouTube, because that's what I do. I come home and watch YouTube all the time. So that's what I did. And yeah. Pew says Malaysians stay long in restaurants. We even sit and watch soccer. I do like recreational restaurant, hanging out in a restaurant all day. I actually love that. And then just eating. I love what do they call it? What's that called in Spain? Tapa style, whatever they call it in other places. Dim sum in China. I love little small plates of food. And I could just sit around all day and watch sports and chat with people. I love that kind of environment. So if you're in Malaysia and you want to invite me to something like that, invite me. I just saw a super chat from Henry. Thanks. I'm getting a lot of super chats, I think, because my birthday is in a couple days. But I appreciate that, Henry. Henry says, hey, Kevin, hope you're doing well. When you're traveling to Asia and Europe, do you always use a VPN on your smartphone or laptop? I always have a VPN on my iPad. Apple has their own VPN, so I usually don't put one on my smartphone. So I don't really have one on my smartphone. Maybe I should, but I've never had any issue with it. Although the other day, I had my VPN on my iPad set on the United States, and then my phone is Malaysia. And I got on Chase app on my iPad, and then I got on it on my iPhone. And a few minutes later, my app was locked out, and it said suspicious activity. And I had to call, and it was this huge, whatever. Luckily, I'm a private client. I'm a Chase private client. And so I got the original Chase customer service was I got to wait 28 to 48 hours for them to unlock my account access. I could still use all my cards. I still had access to my ATM money. I just couldn't access the apps. And if you know anything about me, I love tracking my net worth. I love looking at my stock portfolio 1 million times a day. All that kind of stuff. I do covered calls and cash secured puts. So I need to be able to liquidate those. And so I was like, okay, I gotta wait it was like 24 to 48 hours because it goes into a trouble ticket system so they can unlock you or whatever. And I was like, okay. But then I called Chase Private Client and they immediately got me unlocked, which it's a good benefit to have. For those that don't know, with Chase, if you have $150,000 with them in any accounts, a combination, you can become a Chase Private Client. If you have 75,000, you can get their Sapphire banking, which is almost the exact same thing, to be honest with you. You get almost all the same benefits. It's just a little bit higher with the private client, but honestly, it's basically the same thing. So it's 75,000 in your accounts, and it can be all your accounts, your retirement accounts, everything. If you have them with Chase, it equals 75,000. You can get the Chase Sapphire checking, but I used to have that. Now I have the private client. But yeah, it's great. So I was able to get it unlocked. So I did have that kind of issue. So maybe if I would have had my VPN on both, I would have not had that issue. But I've done it again because I've never had that issue before. So I've done it again since then and I haven't had an issue. I don't know why it flagged me then. Maybe it was because I had both. The app opened in both at the same time, one showing me in the United States, one showing me in Malaysia. Maybe that's what happened or something. But I love the iPad display for the Chase app. For those that don't know, I like all of the apps. I love Robinhood. Robinhood's one of my favorites, to be honest with you. I love SoFi. But I wanted everything on one app. And so I was debating between SoFi and Chase. But because I'm such a big fan of Chase credit cards, like the IHG card, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Chase Freedom, the Chase Unlimited, and I do 99.9% of my spending on my Chase Sapphire Reserve and Chase Freedom. I decided to go with Chase, even though it's more of a pain in the butt if you don't have all that money in it. But I really love the interface. It's terrible for trading. If you're a stock trader, it's a terrible idea. Don't do it. It's not for trading. I'm not a trader. I'm a buy and hold person, so it doesn't really matter. But their app for iPad, I love it. Like you can see everything on your big iPad screen. You know, I have the big iPad. So I can see everything, all my Chase on my big iPad screen. And I love it. I love the app on my iPad. So I always have it open on my iPad app. And so I must have opened it on my phone. And yeah, so that's what happened. Long story short, that's what happened. But if you're interested in Chase, I highly recommend the IHG card for almost anybody because it's only $99 a year and you get one free hotel stay a year, which makes it completely worth it. If you're cruising or you're traveling, you're always going to use that one hotel day a year, and it's 99 bucks, so it's going to be much cheaper. Like if you get a hotel near a cruise port in most places during cruise season, it's going to be at least $200 a night, even for a crappy hotel. So it actually saves you money. So I always recommend the IHG card, and I have links down below to IHG and to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which is my favorite. But I also put a link to the Chase, to open a Chase checking account, and I believe they give you money for opening it. But I figured I'd put that down there because I'm such a big proponent of it now. So I figured I'd put that down there. I only put stuff down there that I actually use. I never get sponsored by anybody. But if I use something, I like it, I put affiliate links. Like everything you see down there, like my backpack, my luggage, it's all stuff that I use and I used for a long time before I ever started trying to sell it. So, but they give me a little kickback, just so you know. John says he realizes how important eating compatibility is to him. There's this famous Friends episode where Joey doesn't like when people take stuff off his plate. Like he won't date a girl that takes stuff off his plate. And you're reminding me of Joey from Friends. Andrea says, let me know what you're looking at on Princess. I have to cancel my transatlantic in February due to a grandchild. That's so awesome. I'm so happy for you. That's amazing. You'll have a future cruise buddy. I will definitely let you know, Andrea. How do you keep up with your taxes? So I have a tax accountant. She's amazing. I've had her for a long time, way before I was doing YouTube. But I just give everything to her. I don't even try to do it myself. It's too much of a pain in the ass. It's totally worth the money I have to pay. And yeah, I just find a tax accountant that you trust. If you've got like a lot of different balls in the air, like I have rental properties, I have dividend income, I have retirement accounts, but I also have most of my net worth is in taxable accounts because I don't qualify for a lot of retirement accounts now, and so most of my money I put in taxable accounts. And I also like being able to have access to it, to be honest with you. My retirement accounts are fine. I don't really need to add any more to them. But I still do. If I qualify to put money in them at the end of the year, my tax accountant tells me I can, then I do. Look at NCL Cruise Frist and Cruise Next certificates. Brings down the cost of many of the NCL. Well, I appreciate that. You took the VIP kid videos down. Did I take them down? Maybe I just put them private. I'll put them back up. I think I put them private I might have put it private when they went not out of business, but they had to shut down for a little bit because China put the clamps on teachers, but then they brought it back pretty heavy during COVID. So let me look at that. Maybe I did. Do your dividends go directly back into, do I do what's called dividend reinvestments? I do on some things, like Johnson & Johnson, I have DRIP. DRIP is a short term for dividend reinvestment plan. For Johnson & Johnson, I do, for those that don't know, whenever you get a dividend, if you have dividend reinvestments turned on, they'll take those dividends and automatically buy shares. And with a lot of my dividend aristocrats I do, but most of my dividend stocks, I've turned that off because I just like getting the money and buying what I want at the time. But some of my older stuff, especially in my retirement accounts, I just have DRIP on, so I don't even have to think about it. And it just buys me more Johnson & Johnson. It buys partial shares now, and DRIP is a great idea. Most of my ETFs, I think I have DRIP turned on as well. Is that a cat I hear? No, someone just walked by with their kids. And so you could hear their kids in the hallway. Potato chips and a bottle of Coke. Yeah, that's my Achilles freaking heel. Kevin, have you tried ube ice cream? I have not. Is that a thing in Malaysia? Ube ice cream? The flavors in Asia, chips are kind of weird. Epcot in Japanese Pavilion has tons of the wild flavors. I will fight you for those chips and popcorn. My other favorite thing, prefer salty to sweet. Yeah, I like salty over sweet as well, personally. Although I do dig some salty sweet too. I like salted caramel mochas, one of my favorite things in the world. Kevin, does Malaysia have cafe laptop culture? Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen any place with a time limit. Definitely cafe laptop culture here. I have photos of Crazy Lays from Bangkok. Yeah, they have some crazy flavors. Yeah, Hawaii was an amazing place to be stationed. I appreciate that advice, ET Ranger, about the over-the-road trucking. Thank you. Random question, but most people at 49 have bags under their eyes, but you don't seem to have any. Can you share your secrets? Do you sleep 8 hours a night? So I usually go to bed at in Asia, I do stay up later for the stock market, but I'll go to bed between 10 and 11 for sure, sometimes earlier. And I get up at 4, but I always take a nap during the middle of the day. So I take a nap. I always get just normal lotion that you get, and I always put lotion on my face. Yeah, I don't have any I have a little bit of bags, but not too bad. I never smoked. I'm actually allergic to cigarette smoke, so I've never, I don't have that. Yeah. Thanks again for that super chat there, Henry. Did you stay at Sigonella in Italy or in Rota? No, so in Italy I was stationed in a small NATO base called Gaeta, Italy. They had a Navy ship homeported there, a flagship. And at the time it was the USS LaSalle, and then it switched while I was there to the USS Mount Whitney. But yeah, we were homeported in a small little fishing village called Gaeta, and it was a NATO base in Italy. It was an amazing place to be. Amazing place to spend. I mean, I was 22 when I got there and was stationed there for 2 years in the heart of Italy in a small little fishing village. No US fast food at all. Like no US food. It was all like Mediterranean Italian cooking. And if you know anything about Italy, food in Italy is nothing like Italian food in the United States, like nothing like it. It's completely different. Especially along the coast, like it's mostly seafood-based diet. And there's a lot of rice, believe it or not. There's a lot of pasta, but a lot of rice as well. And yeah, it was interesting, thinking I knew what pasta was, and it definitely wasn't that. But it was amazing. I lived in a little tiny alley like you would see in the movies. It's called Piccolo Alley, and or in Italian, the name of the street was Via Indipendencia, Independence Boulevard or Independence Street. And it was just this little long alley. The alley was probably 3 miles long. It was all these ancient apartments and houses, and it was such a cool place to live. And it was, I was there from 98 to 2000. It was amazing. Andrea says, I like the Chase app. Yeah, I love the Chase app. Yeah, I like Chase. Like for security overseas, that's great. I mean, again, I did have that little hiccup, but it got fixed right away. That was only a couple days ago, actually, when that happened. How do you know what to look for in a tax accountant? I mean, read reviews. Like that's my biggest piece of advice. And just find let someone do your taxes and I would just find someone. The person I have specializes in nomadic people. That's how I met her actually. And I've been super happy with her. And I had one before her too that was really good. But yeah. Do you have to do taxes from YouTube channel as well? Yeah, from my YouTube channel earnings, definitely. I get a 1099, and if you make anything over $600, you'll get a 1099. And I get a lot of 1099s actually. My YouTube actually makes pretty good money. Even when I'm not making videos, I can make $1,000, $2,000 a month. When I'm making videos, I can make $4,000 to, I've made $10,000 a month off videos. And then all the other money that my channel makes from selling merino wool shirts and stuff. I mean, I still, at the height of my merino wool stuff, I was making $1,000 a month off merino wool. And now a normal month is $100 to $200 a month off merino wool sales. Because I'm so popular in that community and people love using my code, which is just wake up. WAKEUP. If you buy at Unbound Merino, use that code, you get 10% off. So people love the Unbound Merino and they just go back and use the code every time. So I still get money off that. I get money off Amazon. Like a lot of people buy the luggage that I have listed there, the L7 or L8 luggage. And I get 6% of that or whatever it is a month. So I make money off Amazon every month. So I get a 1099 from Amazon. I get a 1099 from Unbound Merino through the company they use, their affiliate company. I get tons of 1099s from all my YouTube stuff. And I give it to my accountant and then, she works her magic and tries to get me as much back as she can, and not as much, I say as much back, tries to reduce the amount of income tax I pay. I pay income tax every year. I never get any money back. Like, because I have so many sources of income that you pay quarterly, like I pay taxes quarterly, I always pay at the end of the year. Like I have not paid taxes at the end of the year since I was in the military. So I always pay. Usually thousands and thousands of dollars. This may be off topic, I just joined the chat. I'm estimating a monthly budget of 100,000 baht. Is that enough for a comfortable lifestyle in Jomtien? I think so. Like, I mean, 90,000, you're right at the edge there. I'm trying to think of what that would be. So 10,000 baht is what, 330? Oh, yeah. You're almost at 100. Yeah, you're almost at $3,000 a month. Oh, yeah. That's plenty. You'll live a great life. I mean, you figure 9,000 baht a month, 90,000 baht a month. You can get a really nice place for 15,000 baht a month. If you want a place like the one I'm in right now, it'd probably be 10 to 15,000 baht a month. You could get even nicer for 20,000 baht a month. And yeah, I mean, and you can get even less than that if you want to be in an older building, but still with beautiful views of the ocean. Find a place for 8,000 baht a month. So let's say you do 15,000 baht a month. Let's say you do 20,000 baht a month. That still leaves you 70,000 baht a month to enjoy your life. Like, yeah. So I think 90,000 baht a month is a good budget to have for Jomtien. If I'm doing my math right in my head, I think that's close to $3,000 a month. So yeah, I think you would be, especially in Jomtien, which would be a little bit cheaper than Pattaya. Phuket would be more expensive. You might not, you'll be able to do it in Phuket, but it's definitely more expensive. It's the most expensive place in Thailand. So I would probably go to Jomtien with that budget. You'll just live a much better lifestyle. You'll be able to eat out every meal. You'll be able to eat a lot of Western food. You'll be able to, drink some beer, drink some beers, enjoy your life. I think that's plenty. I mean, when I was living there, I was spending $2,000 a month, and I was living an amazing life. Some months I was spending $1,000 to $1,500. When I lived in Chiang Mai, I had months where I was spending all the money I wanted eating at that Mexican place there, the Tex-Mex place, which is pretty expensive. It's expensive by Thailand standards, not by Western standards. I mean, a meal there with an amazing burrito and nachos is $10. So it was expensive by Thailand standards, but not by Western standards. And I would struggle to spend $1,500 a month there, even trying to spend a lot of money. I don't drink alcohol though, so that that can change your budget for sure, like really quickly. And if you're like a serial dater, like you want to date a bunch of women or men or whatever, that could drive up the price as well. So just, factor those in too. A lot of people, go to Thailand to date, and so it's more expensive. Do they have places to hike in your area? Yeah, I was showing, earlier I was showing, if you go back in the video, you can see an apartment tour, but you can see that that lake right there is a park. The lake is actually way bigger than it looks on this video, but that lake right there is a park, and it's an amazing walk. And yeah, you can see there's a lot of green space here. A lot of green space in Malaysia. But you also have all the skyscrapers and that stuff. It's actually, Malaysia has a bunch of mountains around it as well, so you have nice mountain views too. How does your allergy to cigarette smoke affect you? It just makes me really sick. makes me sneeze a lot, just have headaches. Like I just can't be around cigarette smoke. It's terrible. What shows am I watching? I am watching Foundation. I'm really getting into this like abandoned places throughout the world where it's like a show on Netflix, I think, or no, it's on HBO. And they go to these different places and it's a whole like little mini documentary about the place. Like you don't really know what it is at first. I've been watching that. I always have, this place has Netflix, put Seinfeld on. You know, Seinfeld, Big Bang Theory, or Friends will be playing on there. It's overseas Netflix, so it has Friends and Big Bang Theory on it. It's not mine, it's whoever the owner is. My Netflix is the one with the ads right now because I get it free through T-Mobile. So I'm using theirs because there's no ads. Kevin, would you consider yourself a digital nomad? I have heard of a new style of travel called slow matting. I guess some people would say I am. When I think of a digital nomad, I think of people that have a real job. Not that YouTube is not a real job. I'm getting myself a Coke real quick. Really quick here, I'm gonna put you right here while I actually pour it. Let's see. You're pointed at my crotch. That's probably not what you want to see. I am I don't know if I would consider myself a digital nomad. I usually think of someone with a normal 9-to-5 job, and I don't really have that. And if you've been watching my YouTube channel for the last few months, you know I haven't put a lot of videos out. I just do these live streams once a week, which I really enjoy doing. It's my favorite part of YouTube. Like, I've said it many times. It's just my favorite part. That's why I've been doing these these videos where I give informative stuff. So maybe people will like to watch them. But I love doing the live streams. I love the interaction with the audience. This is lemon lime Coke. Okay, sorry, this is running longer than I thought it was, so I needed something to drink. See the cool, I got some cool decorations in here. But yeah, I wouldn't consider myself a digital nomad. I think I think a better term for what I do is global expat. I think that's a really good term. I think I'm more of an expat. Even though I do YouTube, I was always hesitant of using the word retired because that just sounds weird. So, and then expat didn't make a lot of sense for me because expats like live in one location. But I heard someone say like global expat and I was like, hey, I think that's what I am. I think I'm a global expat. I'm an expat. I don't really live in the United States. I haven't in a long time. And, but I'm also not in one country. So I think global expat is the way to go. The print above the couch is pretty. Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's like they got nice decorations in here. And a ceiling fan, which you don't see that in Asia very often for whatever reason. There's a lot of fans, but they're like the ones you plug in the wall. So it's cool to have this ceiling fan to circulate the air, I think. I love ceiling fans. Do they send you a 1099? Yeah, so I get a 1099. So Unbound Moreno uses a company called like Share a Sale or something like that like organizes their affiliate program. And so it goes through them and then they send me a 1099 at the end of the year. Google always sends me a 1099. If you earn over 600 bucks a year, you're gonna get a 1099. And same with Amazon. If you earn over 600 bucks a year, Amazon sends you a 1099. And I always earn, well over that now. I feel super fortunate. So I always get 1099s from those guys. Call me, V's in the house. What's going on, V? How you doing? Caroline asked me what military bases around the world are nice to get on base with a military ID. I mean, so I wouldn't say Pearl Harbor. It's not that beautiful in Pearl Harbor, but there is Bellows Air Force Base, which has an amazing beach on, that's on the east side of the island. And part of the beach is public, actually. But there is a little military recreation area that you have to go through a military base to get to. And you need an ID card. And they have like beach bungalows you can rent there, actually pretty cheap. And it's right, these beaches are white sand beaches. They're beautiful. The water is just amazing. And it's just one of those hidden secrets that a lot of people don't know about. We'll come this way a little bit so you can get the lake in the background. Dr. Pernis, about photo storage, I'll add, do I keep my original footage? So I usually don't keep my original footage. And I just have a bunch of like those small SD cards. And like the 256 are now 512. I think they even have 1 gigabyte cards now. And I just move videos onto there that I want to keep. I don't have a great system. I should have a better system. But most of the time I just upload them to YouTube, delete all the originals, and save like the video file onto there. I don't even know why I save it because I never went back and used it. I'm not sure drinking soda is the best thing for the new veneers. Yeah, they told me that too. I should be drinking it with a straw, but that's okay. I usually do, but that's all right. What cloud service do you recommend? So I have Google Drive. I do have Google Drive, and whatever they give you, I have. And then same with Apple. I don't pay for any more. I just use little SD flash cards. And maybe that's not the smart way to do it. Maybe I should just pony up and pay the money to Apple. I pay 99 cents a month, I think, for whatever they give me. And it's like $9.99 for the next level up, which would give me a lot more storage, but I'm always like, I don't want to pay for that. Have I picked up any new hobbies? Not that I know of. I mean, have I? I mean, I like to hike. I'm a huge stock market nerd. I like to play Civilization. But those are all hobbies I've had for a long time. I don't think so. Plan on meeting, or have you met the Nomad Capitalist? I have not. I like his channel. We don't agree on some things, but I really like his insight, the Nomad Capitalist insight. And I was actually supposed to go to one of their events, but it was during COVID, it got canceled. But yeah, I don't even know, is he in Malaysia right now? I need to check, and yeah, I wouldn't mind meeting up with him. He seems like a great guy. Going Green Mom says, I just got approved for Amazon affiliates. Well, that's awesome. Anything you want to post in here, post it. You can post your affiliate link. If you have something that you're like, oh, I love this, and you want to post it, post it. I do miss your outside ones, even if it's a bit. Yeah, I used to do a lot of outside ones. The problem is I have T-Mobile, and so my coverage is overseas, and I don't have unlimited. So I would use my data really fast. But maybe I'll buy a data card from the country and do some outside stuff, because I do like doing the outside stuff. 600 a year is an IRS rule. It's revenue, not earnings. That's good to know. I mean, I just know I get them from them, so, and I just give them to my accountant. Have you ever done 23andMe? And do you identify with any ethnic roots? For example, Thai Chinese celebrate Chinese New Year. So I did get 23andMe, and I actually had my mother do it. I had my grandfather do it, who's in his 90s. So I was really lucky. I have 3 generations of 23andMe data, and it helps them like really get you really good. So I am mostly Irish and English, like 70%, and I am like 20% German, a little bit Finnish, a little bit Iberian, which is Spain and Portugal, and then a little bit African. And it like tells you when your ancestor is. They can tell you what grandparent you had from certain ancestries. And I remember thinking, well, my family, a lot of my family is from Tennessee, like my grandfather's from Tennessee, and I'm like, well, the African descent is probably from slavery, unfortunately. But then when I got my 23andMe results and I started doing research, my African ancestry comes from the 13th century, or 12th century, which is way before slavery. And I did a little bit more research, and the part of Ireland my family is from, which is Kerry and Galway, it's a lot of what's called Black Irish, which are dark-haired Irish people. A big portion of my ancestry is Irish, huge portion. And as I was doing my research, that part of Ireland was invaded by the Moors a lot during the Crusades. It was back and forth, like, the Crusaders would invade Moorish land would come over and invade the British Isles, and the part of Ireland my family's from, a lot of Moors raided the area, and so that's why a lot of Irish people from that area have African descent. And so that's where my African descent was. It's really small. It's like, I was like 1.6% African descent, mostly like Ghanaian and Senegal, I think, or something like that. No, I think it was Ghanaian. Ghanaian and something with an S. But my mother was like 3%. My grandfather was like 6%. So, I mean, obviously we figured out that it came from his line, which is my Irish line. His mother, who I was very fortunate to know, she lived almost to 100. She was alive when I was in my 30s still. She had him when she was really young. When she was 13 years old, she had my grandfather, who's still living and in his 90s. But she only died like 10, 15 years ago or something like that. And so I knew her really well too, and she was very Irish. So mostly British and Irish. The British from the London area, which is my dad's side, and then the Irish from Galway and Kerry, and then some German, Franco-German, a big portion is that, and then a little bit of Finnish, a little bit of Scandinavian, and a little bit of Iberian Peninsula, and a little bit of African. So Sudan, not Senegal, Sudan. Someone said I lived next to the Buzz's Steakhouse in Kailua. Very cool. I used to go to the Buzz's Steakhouse in Pearl City all the time. I lived right by it. But I also lived in the Hawaii Kai area. I lived in, what was it called? Nu'uai or Nu'ukani? Something with an N. I lived right in that Hawaii Kai area. My last, I rented a house with a buddy of mine, and we lived in that area. So very cool. Someone said, is Bellows Air Force Base in Italy? No, Bellows Air Force Base is in Hawaii. Dr. Pureness says, everything today is subscription-based. Everything nowadays is subscription-based. What do I recommend overseas? So if you have a VPN, you can do all the ones you normally do. I have Netflix and Apple TV because they're free with my T-Mobile phone plan. I also have Max, which is HBO's service, because of the House of Dragon. That's why I have them. It'll actually run out soon. Actually, no, I paid for a year. There was some deal where I could get a year for $60, and I did that. So I have that one. The great thing about a VPN is even if you're in the United States, if you get Netflix, but you have a VPN, you can say you're in like England, and your Netflix will be way better. So let's say your VPN is like $5 a month or $7 a month. You can like cancel a bunch of the other subscription services you have because you have Netflix that you can watch the Europe version, which has way more stuff than the US version, especially TV shows. But it doesn't have Game of Thrones or anything like that, but it does have a lot of other stuff that Netflix doesn't have in the United States. Uh, 23andMe just settled a class action lawsuit. Yeah, I should go see if I get any money for that. I don't care. Like, people can sell my data, whatever. I don't care. I know that sounds terrible. Kevin, that's interesting about Black Irish. It's true that many Irish people have dark features, but also Irish who are super blonde like Macaulay Culkin. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the where I'm from, the Black Irish hair comes from the being with people from other places during the Crusades, from Moorish invasions, or even the other way around, like Irish crusaders invading Moorish lands as well, you know. Someone said, I heard law enforcement will consult with local genealogy companies. Yeah, I know they found that one serial killer that way because his niece or something did 23andMe and they were able to match the DNA they had on the serial killer to the niece who had done like, I don't think it was 23andMe, I think it was like Ancestry.com, but they were able to match with that service, which, I mean, good they got that guy off the street, right? Is that Ampong Lake? Yes, that is Ampong Lake right there. I am in the neighborhood of Ampong. Sorry I keep doing my nose. I'm having some allergies right now for some reason. Kevin, would you ever slow travel the UK? Yes, I would definitely do that. It's something I want to do. I have slow traveled it a little bit, but on a cruise ship. But I would definitely slow travel UK. I love it there. Here in Australia, here in Australia, we used to identify a lot more with the British because of our roots, but we tend to be more pro-American these days. Yeah, I always tell people, and I don't mean this in an offensive way, hope you don't take it that way, but people always ask me about, like, what's a place to travel that is like traveling, but just like the US? Because some people, that's what they want, you know, no harm, no foul, whatever you want. And I'm like, when I'm in the US, I feel like I'm in the United States. Other than the accent differences, to me, Australia, to be honest with you, I hope people don't take this offensively. It's like being in Texas or Oklahoma. Like, it's the people in Australia are very similar to people from Texas or Oklahoma, to me. You know, that's my opinion. I could be, you know, some people might not agree with that. But they're very like, they're just very Texas acting to me. So to me, Australia is a lot like Texas. And maybe it's the other way around. Texas is like Australia. Maybe that's how I should say it. But because I know you have your own culture. But when I'm in Australia, I feel like I'm in the United States. It feels like I'm just I'm in another state in the United States. That's what it feels like. Have you watched Traveling Frogman on YouTube? He's a friend of mine. He's a buddy of mine. Yeah, I watch him all the time. I love him. Yeah, he's actually a friend of mine. We're both retired Master Chiefs, although he was a Navy SEAL. And so he's like a certified badass. But yeah, we're good buddies, man. We talk every now and again. So yeah, I know Traveling Frogman. He's great. Kevin, do you know the singer Tom Jones? Of course I know the singer Tom Jones. I actually like to watch the British Voice or the Australian Voice, and Tom Jones is on there sometimes. Tom Jones, I think he's Scottish or Irish, but definitely doesn't look like it. Yeah, that's true. Would be curious to see his 23andMe. Yeah. Can you recommend a condo in Jomtien around 20,000 baht? So it's been a while since I stayed there, but I'd imagine you could get one at the Riviera near the one that I stayed in, which is the Cetus. And I don't know, do you mean like you're doing month to month or you're signing a long-term lease? If you're signing a long-term lease, 20,000 to 25,000 baht, you can get a place in almost any building. Even the Cetus, or you can get a place in almost any building. So if you're talking about signing a one-year lease, 20 to 25,000 baht, the world is your oyster. You're going to be able to find so many good places. You can stay in that new one called the Copacabana, although I think the decoration in that place is like, it looks like 1970s decoration. I'm not a big fan of it, but some people love it. It's too much gold fixture stuff for me. Yeah, you could be in there. You could be at the Riviera. Yeah, those are great places. Yeah, for 20 to 25,000, you got a zillion options. How do you like the House of Dragon? I really like it. I know some people were not crazy about there not being a ton of dragon action in the second season, but I like the political intrigue part of it, so I've really enjoyed it. I think they're doing a phenomenal job on it. I read all the books too, so I kind of already know what happens if they stick to the books. And they're getting ready to do they're getting ready to finish up the new series called, I don't know what the series is going to be called. I think it's going to be called A Knight of the Realm or A Knight's Tale or something like that. I read the books, which is The Adventures of Dunk and Egg. And then there's 3 different books actually. There's The Hedge Knight, and I can't remember the name of the other 2, but they put them together in the one book a few years ago. I think it's called The Adventures of Dunk and Egg, or it might be called A Knight's Tale or something like that. But I think it's called The Adventures of Dunk and Egg. And Dunk is Sir Duncan the Tall. If you remember during the first Game of Thrones when Joffrey was talking about the Kingsguard, looking through the Kingsguard book and talking to Jaime Lannister and kind of insulting him. One of the people he talked about was Duncan the Tall, which was a famous Captain's Guard knight. And that's who the knight from The Knight's Tale is, from The Adventures of Dunk and Egg, is Duncan the Tall, before he became a knight. And his sidekick is Egg, which is actually Aegon Targaryen. But nobody knows it's Aegon Targaryen because he shaves his head and everyone calls him Egg. But he shaves his head so you don't see his white hair. And he travels as a squire with Duncan the Tall, and obviously eventually everyone figures out he's Aegon. And eventually when he becomes the king, he puts Duncan the Tall in charge of his king guard. But anyway, it's I'm excited about it. It's probably of all of those books, J.R.R. Martin books, that's my favorite series, The Adventures of Dunk and Egg. And so I'm excited that they turned it into a series. Also another connection that Dunk and Egg has with the original series. By the way, it takes place about 100 years before the Game of Thrones series, maybe a little bit closer, but it's still a good portion away. But Duncan the Tall is actually related to Brienne of Tarth. So if you're a big Brienne of Tarth fan, Duncan the Tall, and you know she's very tall, is one of her ancestors. And actually the shield that she has in one of her, I'm such a nerd, the shield she has in one of the things is Duncan the Tall's shield, which his sigil was a tree with a shooting star. And you'll find out why that is if you watch the series or read the books. Why he has a big tree with a shooting star. You'll find out why that's his sigil. And she actually has his shield in one of the series, which is like cool how they put those little connections in there. Before they even knew they were going to do a Duncan and Egg series, somebody knew enough of the Game of Thrones lore to know that Brienne of Tarth is a descendant of Dunk the Tall and actually had his shield sigil, which is the tree with the shooting star. Like, that's amazing that they got that much detail right in the series. So. Someone said, wait, that was based on a book? Yeah, all of the Game of Thrones is a book. Okay, the Game of Thrones, the original series, is based off A Song of Fire and Ice by George R.R. Martin. And then he actually hasn't even finished it yet. It might end different than the movies, actually, or the TV series, which I actually hope it does, because the final season of Game of Thrones was a huge disappointment to me, personally. But House of Dragon is also based on what's the name of it? It's basically an anthology. It's a history told by the Maesters of what happened during it's called the Dance of the Dragons, and that's what House of Dragon is based on. The book called Dance of the Dragons. The books are from the historical perspective of the Maesters that are writing the history, right? And the history is always written by the winner, right? So maybe it's a little bit different. And the show is basically saying this is what really happened. That's what the Maesters wrote the history to be, and it's correct, but here's what really happened, right? Like the little nuances, political nuances. So anyway, sorry, big nerd out here. But yeah, all of those are books, and then the new series is based off The Adventures of Dunk and Egg, which is my favorite. So I'm excited to see how they adapt it to film. I've seen some screenshots. It's much more low budget than the other ones. It's basically kind of a filler while they're waiting for the new season of House of Dragon to get done. They want something to put in there. But I think they're going to find out how much people like these characters, and I bet you we get more Dunk and Egg, because it's such a good relationship between those two. It's such a neat little thing. Pew says it seems like they're retconning Nettles in House of Dragon. For those that don't know, in the Dance with the Dragons, Nettles is a famous character. She's a black female that's a dragon rider. She's not in House of Dragon, but basically her character is being put on to, what's her name? One of Daemon Targaryen's kids from his wife with the sea snakes kid. Sorry, nerding out for all you guys. Anyway, Bela, maybe it's Bela. But in the books, Bela doesn't really have that much of a role. Neither of those Targaryen girls do in the books. They're really like out of sight, out of mind. I mean, they're mentioned, but they don't really have a role. But it seems like they're taking Nettle's role and putting it on that Targaryen sister that is down in the Vale right now. It seems like they're putting Nettle's character on her. All of Nettle's stuff. Nettles is one of my favorite characters, by the way. So I'm glad to see that I wish they just had Nettles, because why wouldn't you just have one of the best characters? But at least they're going to tell her story, even if it's on somebody else. Kevin, have you ever been or would you ever visit India? I would visit India. I was supposed to go there during COVID, but it got canceled because of COVID. But I was actually going to India. So I need to get back there. Do I like Indian food? I love Indian food. I love spicy food. I love Indian food. I mean, I love it, especially when I go with someone that knows how to order correctly, because I'm not very good. I love eating the food, but I don't know what the stuff is called. So, but I do love Indian food. David says, I only have a BS from Cornell, JR, or Martin Hard reading. Read Dunk and Egg, it's much easier to read. Dance of Dragons is actually not easy to read because it's like more of like an encyclopedia. Yeah, check out Dunk and Egg. It was 3 small books, and then they made it 1 big book. But yeah, it's pretty. You went to Cornell, which is, I went to Georgetown for law school, and so Georgetown and Cornell have a little bit of rivalry, actually. Well, see, you said you wouldn't have been accepted to Georgetown Law or Harvard or Yale. Cornell is actually ranked above Georgetown in law school rankings, so there you go. What's better, Lord of the Rings or House of Dragon? I mean, Lord of the Rings will always be my favorite. That's where I got into fantasy when I was a kid, reading The Hobbit. I was in a school that made us read The Hobbit. And before that, I was really into Super Fudge. That's all I had read. But The Hobbit like opened up this world of fantasy to me. And I was a big nerdy Dungeons and Dragons kid and all that kind of stuff. And that'll always be number 1 for me. And I mean, that's a big influence on George R. Martin, obviously. I also love, oh God, I'm so bad at remembering stuff on the spot. He wrote The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is also great fantasy as well. I was reading both of those at the same time, J.R.R. Tolkien and, oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember his name. C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis. Whew, that's killing me. Yeah, C.S. Lewis is great too. His has more of a like religious aspect to it because he like based a lot of it off like biblical stuff, which some people don't like. But I mean, honestly, it's a tale for all the ages anyway. So I love C.S. Lewis. So I really loved those books when I was a kid. And I loved the first movie, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. After that, they got kind of crappy. But yeah, Narnia. I mean, that Narnia movie was so good, the first one. I thought it was phenomenal. Obviously, the Lord of the Ring movies were exceptional. And I could hugely nerd out on those. The Hobbit was pretty good, but I think they could have been better. But still really good. Still really good. So yeah. And I haven't started watching the new show yet because I don't have my Amazon subscription anymore. And once they release all of them, I think I'll go in and pay for Amazon again and then watch them. But yeah, I like the shows too. I know a lot of people were poo-pooing on the Lord of the Rings shows, the prequels. And I get it, man. They're very deep and layered. But I enjoyed them personally. Would you do camping content like these camping channels? Yeah, I have a lot of camping content, JLux. I lived in a bunch of, I lived in an RV, and you're asking about the like building the cabin from scratch. I wish I had that talent. I love those channels. I watch those channels like crazy. I'm a huge fan of those like survival shows where people go and live out in the wilderness. But I also love the YouTube channels where they show people building off-grid cabins or building stuff in the dirt. Those fascinate me as well. But yeah, I love that stuff. The Silmarillion of the Game of Thrones universe. Yeah. I said that completely wrong too, by the way. What is your favorite TV show when you were growing up? Ooh, when I was growing up? I mean, if you're talking like cartoons, I was a big Voltron and Thundercats fan. And then when I was a real little kid, I liked Mr. Rogers. And what shows did I like? Yeah, Wonder Years was a good one. I liked like Family Ties and like all those like comedies like that. I don't know if you remember Perfect Strangers, but I really liked Balky from Perfect Strangers. He was really funny. Bronson Pinchot, I think is his name. Yeah. And then when I was a teenager, I was a huge Friends fan, and a young adult, I was a huge Friends fan, and I love Big Bang Theory. Seinfeld is probably my all-time favorite. I love Big Bang Theory. I love Friends. So yeah, I just like sitcoms. I miss a good old-fashioned sitcom. Yeah, C.S. Lewis were great. Kevin, do you listen to motivational speakers? Yeah, man, I actually know David Goggins. You mentioned David Goggins. He was a chief in the Navy. I knew him in the Navy when he was a first class. He's a great guy. He's the real deal. He's exactly what he shows on there. But yeah, I love the motivational speakers. I love getting hyped up. I argued that Bilbo Baggins was a Took rather than a Baggins. Ooh, listen, that's good stuff. Very cool. Oh, wow, I haven't heard Perfect Strangers mentioned in years. Yeah, I liked that show, man. It shouldn't have got canceled. Kevin, have you ever watched South Park? I love South Park. I used to I played in a band called 101 Delta, and a band we played with a lot, and this was in 1997. So that's when South Park first came out, when it was just a short Christmas video on the internet. And I played with a band called Cartman's Lunchbox. And I have old pictures of me. Sometimes I would sing with them. There were certain songs that I could just sing better than their singer. It was a female singer. And so they'd be playing in these bars and they'd have me come up and sing like Fly by Sugar Ray, Killing in the Name of by Rage Against the Machine. I was really famous for doing that one. And so I would go up and play with Cartman's Lunchbox. So there's these old pictures of me singing in this group. They made this big styrofoam head of Cartman. And this was before the TV show on Comedy Central. This was only when they were like an internet sensation. And yeah, so I've been watching South Park forever. I've never watched F for Family, but I've heard it's good. I really like Bob's Burger. I know it's kind of wholesome and stuff, but I really like Bob's Burgers. It's one of my favorite, so yeah. John said, well, you know Goggins? Yeah, I mean, a lot of people know Goggins. Like Traveling Frogman, I guarantee you knows Goggins. I mean, the Navy's like a kind of a small world when you're in the Navy. Goggins was in the Navy over 20 years. He was a chief. So you run around across people in the Navy, and he was always, even before he got famous, everyone knew him because of his long distance running that he would do. Because you just know when people are doing that kind of stuff in the Navy, like triathlons. Even me, I ran the Marine Corps Marathon in Iraq. I was all over all the Navy publications because I trained and ran the Marine Corps Marathon in Iraq, the satellite version, in Al-Assad Air Base, Iraq. And I was on all kinds of Navy publications for that. And yeah, I mean, we all kind of knew each other. You know each other. I mean, you don't know everybody, but you know people. And Goggins is one of those people I ran across a couple of times, especially because I was a long distance runner. And he was an ultra marathoner. I was not an ultra marathoner, but I ran marathons. And so, yeah. Do you know the Beatles own the rights to The Hobbit? And there was an animated movie. I remember the animated movie. Of course, I remember. It was not that great, but it was better than like the Star Wars Christmas special. Because those were about the same time. Someone said Daria. Daria was great on MTV. I know Beavis and Butthead are making a resurgence because they had those two guys that were on the Saturday Night Live skit dressed as Beavis and Butthead. I know they're making a comeback, but I mean, I loved that when I was a teenager, obviously. I have a crass sense of humor. Did you ever watch Sacha Baron Cohen? I have watched him, but when he got famous was when I was getting deployed all the time in the military. So I had this gap of, I went like a 4-year period where I was deployed constantly. I did 3 deployments in a row, back-to-back deployments. So over a 4-year period, I was in the United States maybe like, in the entire 4-year period, maybe 6 months total, and not at one time. I was deployed. So I had this, so I was on ships and like, I have this like 3 to 4 year period where my pop culture reference ability is super low. And that was during that time. I remember the DVDs getting to the ship and seeing maybe some of that stuff. So I do know a little bit about him, but I never watched the show or anything like that. So I don't have a huge appreciation of him like other people do because I just didn't really watch that much of him. I know like, you know, I know Tom Green, and it seems like he was kind of like, not a copycat, but like he like took all the Tom Green stuff and went even further with it. But yeah, so. David said, I don't even want to drive 26 miles. That was a different time of my life, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really got into it. Someone said, Going Green Mom said that's problematic for trivia. All right, I'm all caught up with questions here. If you got any questions, I'll stay on just a little bit longer. Throw them out there. I might do a live stream on my birthday maybe, just for shits and giggles. But yeah, Tom Green is a van lifer now. Yeah, I follow his van life channel. I've watched it. Yeah, it's I've watched his van life channel. Like when he first had it, I actually had more subscribers than him for a little while. But yeah, he's great. He has that dog, and yeah, he has a nice built-out van, man. Really good. Yeah, I really like him. Yeah. All right, it doesn't look like I have any more questions here, so I'm going to call this a live stream. It's been a long one, but I really enjoyed it. Thanks, guys, for joining me. We'll do another. Someone said, where to next? I'm going to the Philippines next. I'll be here for a month, and then I'll be heading to the Philippines for 3 months, staying in Bonifacio Global City in Manila. I'm super excited about it. I'll be in Uptown BGC. Someone said, happy 49. Thank you very much. I'm super excited about my last year in my 40s and super excited to meet 50 head on. All right, thanks everybody for watching. See you next video.